Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
In his first time up, had a sack fly, looks for more here, sends Wade back, track, wall, good back. 1-2, high chopper, on the infield, gonna be trouble, throw to first, safe, and a run comes in to score. It's 7-7 on a bang-bang play. First pitch swinging, Jake Berger to deep center, going back is Hurrdat, reaching up, and it is gone, home run. Jake Berger. This is smoke to right, and over the head of Johnson. That's going to carry him off the wall. Keep an eye on Bierling. He's being waved around third. He's going to come in and score. And Tocken into third with a stand-up RBI triple. Bennett back out for a spin. Hit to the slot. Rodriguez. Rodriguez shoots. He scores! 2-1 Florida. Perry on the power play from Broussard and Eckholm. Score! 3-1 Panthers run hard. Dylan Skinner. His first point of the series, and it's a huge goal for the Panthers.
Good morning. Welcome in Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. What's up, DB?
How we doing?
Oh, we're doing all right.
That's good. That's good.
Despite my baseball team, we're doing all right.
Well, listen, that's a cute little graphic they have on MLB Network right now talking about your man, Roman Anthony, because apparently when you hit balls really, really far, and they probably just landed
You get the gladiator
couple
treatment?
minutes ago, yeah, you get the I am Roman Anthony Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Commander of the Armies of the North?
Apparently he's a big Southern cow guy, because that looked pretty.
That looked more Trojan
That
than
looked pretty
Roman.
Trojan-y, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Which
is the name, Roman Anthony.
I do have to say, I think our Hurrdat Sports graphic people are better than whoever put that together.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can be down, and
It wasn't great. It wasn't
good
great.
with looked pretty superimposed, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked a little like
You'll take our people.
80s like green screen in a movie where you're like, they're definitely not at the ocean right now.
Hey, did you scour the television and find that Alanis Morissette commercial?
I did not.
I need somebody with a good artsy fartsy eye to see if that's like really good work.
Okay.
It looked
I'll find it. I'll find
looked
it.
just like the video.
Not that I have an artsy fartsy eye.
The
but I
old
will.
school video. I don't know if it was super. I mean, they can do overlay. They can do anything.
Yeah.
Except apparently make Predator look like a real thing.
Well, that's what AI is for. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. Why can't they do realistic sharks?
That's a good question.
It's frustrating.
That is a good question.
As a big shark guy, I'd like to see a little more realism from my sharks out there.
Not the Meg didn't do it for you.
I quietly do like Jason Statham though.
Oh,
is that corny?
No, he's got some fun movies.
I know,
We had
but
this
you were
kinda-
quick to snobbily drop he's a B-lister, and I was like, I feel bad for loving a B-lister, but
No, we like what we like. I don't think he's a B-lister.
are you trying to help me? We like what we like.
I'm trying to help you out, bud.
That's new.
I almost said something terrible.
Of course.
I stopped though. I'm learning. I'm growing.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I saw my neighbor. I didn't see him yesterday because I was early.
Scotty?
I saw Scott. Yep.
Yeah.
I saw him.
He probably doesn't go by Scotty, but I'm going to call him that.
No, I think we should just go with Scott. He looks like a Scott.
I know you do this to me all the time, though, and I like giving nicknames.
No, like he's fit and has like ink, and he doesn't look like a Scotty. He looks like a Scott.
All right.
I mean, I'm not going to call him Scotty. I'm just going to
Well, that's because you have to see him every day.
Hey, so when I turned the corner, I yelled. I was like, I feel like I've got new friends. Do you guys think that's funny that it was that early in the morning and that's exactly what I said? I did. I appreciate you laughing at me.
I just can imagine you saying exactly that.
That's exactly what I
And
said.
it's just funny.
And I can now honk louder. So in the summer.
You know that everybody else is still asleep.
So here's
right?
the thing.
Like everybody else is still trying to sleep.
Do I get all my loud honks out now? Or save them for when the kids are up? Because I mean, I used to.
Yeah.
Because of course, I told you the story. Like, this has been a thing. So I just used to do the quiet honk because I didn't want to scare them. And I waited till I was in front of them.
I like how you've been honking at these people for months, and you're like, oh, it's the honk that's going to scare them. It's the volume of the honk, not the fact that some stranger has been honking at them every day.
Yeah,
for
especially
months.
now that I know that they could never see me.
Yeah, that's what I
feel
mean.
awful now. It's like,
Like, if from their perspective, this has been a nightmare.
so I laid on it like 3 times. I was like, and I stuck my thumb out the window. So like we're all the way in. I went from subtle scared. I really admire these guys' commitment to staying in shape.
Yeah.
To we're just full blown.
Oh, Scott's in the chat. Scott, can I call you Scotty?
He's in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh my! I thought that was just a drive. He was just walking.
Man, he's on it. He might be on his phone. You know,
that's true.
phones get YouTube.
That's
I don't know if
true.
you know
Yeah.
this.
So I was like full fledged. I'm like, hey, I got friends.
Were you trying to give him a ride, like reverse hitchhiking over there?
No, but I did lay on that thing like 3 times.
You know-
I feel you're right. It
You
is
know, there's
summer,
other people in the neighborhood.
but see this. Can I just tell you what I was thinking?
What?
And maybe this is backwards. I think it's backwards now that I process it
Okay.
out loud. I feel like a lot of people are up.
I don't think so.
Are you sure?
I'm not, but I also don't know what normal people's lives are like because we have weird hours.
Correct.
So my thought is I try not to text anybody even like until we get to the second hour.
I
of
don't
the
believe in that.
I know. But like half the people you're texting, are up.
True.
Like, I'm up.
Yeah.
Obviously, your family's up. Like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people, all your coaches are up at whatever crack of dawn the hour.
Yeah,
they are.
they're already. Mike is already at school.
The
He's
only
at the high school.
person you ever wake up is your broadcast partner. Whenever you have to talk to her.
Did you see what she said to me yesterday?
Which part?
When she goes, "Hey, just be glad I answered the phone before 8:00." And I was like, Jess, it's just very, very important. And as you see, a very fluid schedule.
Yeah.
So I will have to leave a little early. I will depart for Lincoln after the Trae Taylor interview.
That's right.
We will talk to this young man, and we will see if we can find ourselves new broadcast partners for the network, for the Husker Radio Network.
There you go.
Which is
why you're rocking the gear?
Why I'm wearing Nebraska gear. I love Nebraska. I typically don't wear the gear.
Not a lot, no.
And certainly not red.
More of a black.
Yes, or gray.
Yeah.
Especially in the city. I try not to draw attention to myself in the city.
Which is funny.
But I'm going to Lincoln, so
which
it's
is
fine.
funny because you wear a ton of West Side red.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, like, until somebody gets close to you, it really doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're not going to be able to tell.
So
a difference.
I did a quick hit with for the network the other day,
mm-hmm.
and I had on gray with the red W, but no wording.
Mm-hmm.
But it was with Nick Hanley, so I figured he's not gonna think it's Wisconsin,
mm-hmm.
and hopefully everybody that was watching on the stream
knew that.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, you would hope so.
The point is different. I keep trying to tell people.
No, it is. I'm just saying. I'm not even talking about the Wisconsin versus West Side thing. I'm saying if you're wearing red, I think until people get close to you, there's no difference between Nebraska red and West Side red. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's all.
Are you letting me off the hook?
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I'm
Kind of like your pitching staff needs to get let off the hook.
I need somebody.
But listen, mine sucks too.
I need somebody to close out. Yeah, okay. There's two different types of sucking, though, right?
Oh, are you going Justin Timberlake?
Cry me a river.
Cry me a river.
I am. They're sucking while you're in first place, which is what you're doing. And then they're sucking in fourth place, which is what we're doing.
See, here's the deal. I'm going to let you in on a little secrets.
Okay.
All right. You'd like to play to the standard in which you're capable of playing, not just
I get
getting
that.
by with a little help from your friends.
I get that. But in the meantime, it's
Ravi
nice.
here for being a big get by guy.
No, I'm here for it's nice to not be buried in the standings while you figure it out.
I mean, we
That's
were,
what
we
I'm
were a
here
game
for.
away from getting broomed by the Cardinal.
Okay. The Cardinals are in second in their division. That's not a bad team, which you were on.
I was on.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that they're good.
Yeah, you sort of have I won't say an affinity, but a respect for the Cardinals.
I have it
for the franchise.
I have I let a guy troll me incessantly on social media about the Cardinals
Really?
that I would 99.99% of the time not stand for.
Why?
Because I think he means well.
So piece of cheese guy.
Yes, Cody's a piece of cheese guy. Although he almost struck a nerve when he hammered Kershaw.
Oh yeah, you love Kershaw.
Yeah.
That's like your boy.
But I shook it off.
Can we have like a I like Kershaw. I think he's
like the scene in Old School. Shake it off, big fella. I shook it off. Don't fall for the Kershaw slander.
Can we have? I'm not trying to slander here. Can we have a little tree of trust moment?
Are you going to say something offensive again?
I don't think so.
That means yes.
Probably.
Okay, what's up?
So I love and respect Kershaw. I want to start there.
Oh boy.
Aesthetically, I'm not in love with the curveball the way everyone else is.
Yeah, the old over the top 12 Swixer.
It's the same thing with the Barry Zito one.
I know. I'm not, but you have to give a little grace to lefties.
I do.
I'm not even mad at the take.
Okay.
I'm not even
because
mad
I
at
really
the take
it comes from a good place because I do like Kershaw.
It bugs me too.
Because I sent you that curveball. I sent in the group that curve, and I like that's the curveball I like.
Yeah, like
that's
I'm
a
not
beautiful curveball from him. I think.
But when you deal with lefties,
yeah, it's a little different.
You get the funny arm
like
slots,
way over the top, and
they just can do more things.
They can.
So,
but I don't love the.
I don't hate the take.
Okay,
it's not aesthetically pleasing.
It's really not, and
you know who threw my favorite style of curveball?
Who?
And arm slot the whole nine, because he was power personified, where you could read if he had a tattoo on the inside of his bicep, and the inside of his forearm. Go back and watch Doc Gooden.
Oh, okay.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean,
I haven't done a lot of deep dive on Doc Gooden.
He was.
I'll go back and get it.
I'm not.
I remember
this is. I get it because I had the hot take with Elway and Manning about being a smidge overrated. Doc Gooden is a little overrated.
So I think.
Well, in '86, he was everybody's favorite.
Well, listen, we're still talking about such a flicker, a smidge, a couple of granules of salt in your shaker.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In terms of his career.
Yeah.
I think he gets the Bo Jackson treatment, the what-if treatment.
That if he wasn't addicted to drugs?
Yeah, like if his career had gone the way we thought it could, that he's this – because he was this immense talent, right?
Yes.
This enormous talent.
Yes.
And we think like, oh, too much, too soon, too young. If he'd been able to keep it on the tracks, which on that Mets team, nobody kept it on the tracks, right? Like that's just what that Mets team was.
Yeah, wow.
And
by the way, do you like my Wally Backman? Do you like when I send you Wally Backman stuff?
He's a nut.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Hey, did you see what Jake said during the broadcast? Wally, don't just. I'm gonna go say something to Jake. Wally, it's fine. You can go say something to Jake. Just be brief. Don't overdo it. Just keep it basic.
Yeah.
Wally. Oh, yeah, I will. I won't. I'll barely cuss. I won't. Next thing you know, they're having a knockdown drag out. And the guy goes, that was being cool, Wally.
That's the good version.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. He wasn't what we remember him.
I don't. And listen, I'm not knocking Dwight because I liked Gooden.
Yeah.
I liked Gooden quite a bit. He's just, in terms of historical, prowess, I'm like, okay.
And can I tell you, and I know this is more of a modern number, but
do you know he's 60?
I guess that makes sense. He was 20 in 1984, right?
Doc Gooden is 60.
That creeps up on you.
Yeah.
So I know this particular stat wasn't paid attention to historically.
I got another friend. He said friends for life. He doesn't know how hard it is to come by. I'm not very likable. I pick friends very. This is gonna be. I wonder if he can cook.
Hello, friend.
Maybe we can trade barbecue.
So, do you want him to be able to cook, or you just want to cook for him?
Both.
Okay.
I mean, that's
because you seem more of a cook for people guy because you're pretty particular about your taste and what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm more of a giver by nature.
It surprises me that you would be like, oh, I hope he can cook for me, because that doesn't really seem like a thing you'd be into.
Intimidating's not the word, but I probably would get a good feel for what he likes first.
Okay.
He has some Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Got a presence.
Yes, he has presence. That's a good word.
Gravitas.
Sure, that's a little extra.
Okay. Just
because he does have little dogs, so that's cool.
What kind of little dogs you got?
Can I pet that dog?
They Frenchies like yours?
No, they don't have hair really.
So more like a Chihuahua?
Yes.
Or like a little rat terrier?
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay.
I had Chihuahuas. Does it?
Did you?
Do I? I know it's weird how I did a 180 because I'm traumatized and was treated so poorly in young age. But I went into a relationship wanting a big dog.
You do seem
But
like
like most relationships, I was neutered and ended up with Chihuahuas and Frenchies, not my German Shepherds and Mastiffs like I originally set out for.
And all these hoes laughing like so funny.
you do seem like a big dog guy. I was surprised that you have Frenchies.
Yeah, I don't have any stones.
Neither do the Frenchies anymore.
I wish I'd have had more. I should have put my foot. Nah, that wouldn't have gone over well. But I should have tried to put my foot down before I had kiddos.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, we want big dogs.
Because I would have even settled for a husky.
Yeah.
I
Huskies
wanted
are a
a
lot, though.
German Shepherd is like my go-to.
Yeah.
Like and I see it. They're on my algorithm on TikTok all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Like I can really sit and I want to train. I want to be able to, like I like the control.
Yeah, I think you would do well with the German Shepherd because you have to be very like diligent.
I follow a guy who pretty much only trains like Stafford Terriers and
I love
of the,
Staffies.
of the bully family.
Love bullies.
And he is very adamant about not liking people that don't take the time to train dogs, then critique how dogs behave.
Yeah.
So he is amazing. I think he does it intentionally for people that are like scared.
Yeah.
But he's really, really good. Like fantastic.
I love Staffies.
They're okay.
They're one of my favorites. Great dogs.
I used to want dogs that you couldn't have. So
Like
and
what,
then
like what
we,
kind?
we in my former life we did a whole rundown of what I would need to have the kind of dogs that I wanted. Well, I used to want a Cane Corso.
Oh, Cane Corsos are great dogs.
And then I was looking for a certain type of Mastiff.
Yeah.
It used to be my early on in my Twitter days. So this is probably 12 or 13. And I was solo, so I was like, you know what? I'm starting over. I'm getting me a badass dog.
Yeah, you should have got a Mastiff. Mastiffs are great.
And then we were like looking up stuff, and I'm like, oh gosh, if I walk them, they have to have a muzzle and this, that, and the other, and you need a permit. And I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, Mastiffs are great dogs, though.
Yeah.
I love Mastiffs. I had a Mastiff mix prior.
Yeah.
And great dogs.
I like those big square, which is kind of what I like about the Frenchies.
Yeah, the big square heads.
I like those square heads.
Yeah. Dude, you would love Doug. Doug just has this big old block head.
Sometimes Buddha will look at me and I'm like, you are so stinking cute. And he tilts his head and he's like, if you don't call me by my right name at least one time in your life, like my dog probably doesn't even know what to answer to.
Yeah.
He's something different every day.
I think everybody does that though. Everybody's got like 8 nicknames for their dog and hardly ever calls them by their real name.
Oh. He's an I found some great dog treats too.
Oh, what do we got?
I got them from Rotella's.
Really?
Yeah.
They make dog treats?
Oh yeah, they're sensational.
I had no idea.
And during the holidays, they like they'll do like cranberry turkey.
Oh, they like jazz them up a little bit?
Oh, they are in fuego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dogs love them.
Yeah.
I'll have to check. My dogs are obsessed with just regular ass milk bones. Obsessed.
I think that's horrible.
It's wild.
They're not even good for them.
We've tried different things, and they are obsessed with the milk bones.
You can buy like 226 trillion milk bones for like $7
You
at
can.
Costco.
They're like the huge box. That's what we do, and we got 3 big dogs, so we go through a lot of them. But we've bought like gourmet stuff. We've bought the high end stuff. We bought the ones for their teeth. They are obsessed with just regular ass milk bones.
Well,
it's wild.
Well, you got some standard dogs.
I don't know, man. They're just
Hey, since we have AJ here, since I can call to the bullpen, would I give the left-handed motion or the righty? I'm going to the righty. Okay. If I would have suggested some questions, let's say I was going to go to Lincoln earlier, and I would have suggested some questions like, hey, I really want to know this about Trae. And I said, AJ, can you word this however you would, but ask these questions? Would you have been offended? No. Would you, if I would have done that to you, would you have been offended?
No, I'd have tried to get him in.
Okay. Because sometimes I do that, and I feel like, would I want somebody to do that to me? I probably wouldn't mind.
I probably wouldn't force it, but I'd try and get him in if I could.
Okay. All right, that's good to know.
I'm a very like natural flow of the conversation type person.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I experience that every day.
This is where the magic happens.
Yeah. You're pretty out there. That's what I know. But stop feeding your dog what do you call them?
Regular ass milk bones. It drives me crazy because I try and give them better stuff, and they're like, "No, we want the milk bones."
Yeah, I'm glad my the pet store that I frequent, that I am now a member of, full-fledged, has developed their own dog food.
Oh, really?
So I talk to their people all the time about what's in it. Because I used to not be that guy.
Yeah.
But then you start getting pet insurance, and you start having expenses for dogs, and you're like, if I paid this much for them, I probably should take pretty good care of them.
Yeah, we do like the high-end food and stuff, and like I said, we've tried every treat that exists, and they're just like, no, we want milk bones.
I'm telling you, like,
it's wild.
The ones that these two knuckleheads are on from Rotello's are peanut butter bacon.
Ooh, I bet they would get down on some of those.
And they're affordable. Now they're little.
Yeah,
like
I just give them a little. Like I give them a little milk.
They're
bones. Yeah,
they're little, but the flavors are pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'll have to check it out. Coming up on the show today, as DB mentioned, we do have Trae Taylor at 8:30. He'll be joining us, the 2027 Nebraska quarterback commit, at 9 o'clock. We will have Mike J. Schaefer, Husker247.
I'm going to miss Schaefer.
And then at 9:30, we'll have LSU baseball coach
Jay Johnson.
Go Tigers, Jay Johnson.
Yeah, we're not. Is that who you're rooting for?
I think I'm rooting for Coastal.
You like Schnall?
I like Schnall. I listen, I'm not going to be mad about LSU winning, though. Like, I've got it a little bit in my DNA from growing up. So the first College World Series game I ever attended.
Big Mouton guy?
The first College World Series game I ever attended was the Warren Morris walk-off game. Like, the ball landed from me to AJ away from me.
Now,
so, like, that left an impression.
I need a full.
Okay.
Are you really going to let him call you AJ? First of all, I started.
You did start it.
And he kind of low-key chastised
me,
but in a very Austin way. In a very Austin way, he said, my household are the only people who, and they inquired on why I let you.
Yeah.
So he didn't slap my wrist, but he let me know I was in uncharted waters.
So,
do you like the way I retell the story? I'm pretty fantastic. I mean, just ask me. I spun that thing like a top.
I feel like at this point, we're all family here. Like you, me, Austin, and Rico, and Shane are all kind of like our own little household.
Yeah. I got a bone to pick with Puerto Rico, though.
Oh, what did Puerto Rico do? It's funny because he's from Puerto Rico.
Is he?
Yeah, he really is.
Oh, whoops.
He wears like a little Puerto Rican flag chain.
Damn it.
He lost it. You got him.
I am so sorry. Well, it's fine if he's from. I mean, it's not as funny anymore, but I got to come up with something different.
Wait, so why are you mad at Rico?
You're mad.
You should just start calling him Puerto.
Damn. I can't get anything right. Because he's from. That's funny because he's from Puerto Rico. I thought he is.
Yeah. I mean, he's from Bellevue, but like family-wise, there's some Puerto Rican ties.
Well, makes sense. All right, moving right along.
Wait, so why?
How about those Knicks?
Why are you mad at him?
Because I wanted those guys, and it was hard. Like you softened the blow the other day when you go, well, hey, their defense, they were managing 55 different things, so they drafted like Jim Irsay. He didn't really say that. It's kind of
not the Jim Irsay part, certainly.
I think we should have found pictures for our guest pickers as opposed to just the black outlines of the heads. Like, I mean, we should have got some stills at KB and like did a screen grab, and we see TK all the time. We've actually seen TK in person.
I have, yeah. I had lunch with TK.
So like, I was like, oh, I feel like it's not as professional.
He bought a piece of gym equipment from me.
Did he?
Yeah, my belt squat.
Oh,
love a good belt squat.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I moved to it because the back squat's just too hard on my like. I just had no reason to do it anymore, but I want to keep the legs strong, so I got a belt squat for a while.
I found a protein bar
Mhm.
that tastes just like a Milky Way. It's big. It's a caramel bar.
Ooh.
But I looked at the what would you suggest for? Are you a 1-to-1 macros guy for protein the carbs? It's 20. It's
20 to 20.
It's 24-20.
Honestly, for the purposes that protein bars serve, that's not bad. Like if I'm doing a shake, I definitely want the protein to be like a 2-to-1 at least.
It's 24-20.
But if I'm on
it tasted amazing.
if I'm on the go and it tastes really good, because most protein bars taste like crap, and they're like all
that much is true.
chalky and weird and whatever. Hate them.
Now they're trying to mess with the textures. Like, have you tried I'm like a bar kind of have you like puffs?
I haven't had puffs.
They're kind of marshmallowy.
Yeah, I haven't had those.
The macros
Aren't great on them.
They aren't fantastic. So typically, the better they taste,
the worse the macros are.
Yeah, I've been on some of these bars too. Yeah. These protein little not candy bars, but like brownies. And initially, sensation.
Yeah.
Then by the time you swallow, it's like I feel like I just got off a roller coaster.
Really?
Yeah, like nauseous, like just too rich.
Yeah.
But they taste exactly like the flavors.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had some that I was eating for a while that were like 10 to like 25, like 10 carbs to 25, but they tasted terrible. Like they were hard to get down, but they were small, so I could stomach them.
I apparently saw she was apparently a fitness person at Costco in Lincoln Saturday. And I had to ask. I know I say I don't really talk to strangers, but when I'm in control of the conversation.
No, you talk to strangers constantly.
It's okay. So
yeah.
She's like reading every bag.
Yeah.
And she's in a very similar section that I am. And I'm like, hey, just curious, what's got your attention? She was calculating macros.
I used to do that. I
was like, I think I would have to do that before I shopped.
Oh, yeah.
That would be very tedious. Unless you're seeing, but I could see where if you're at Costco, they might have new things.
Yeah, you're comparing.
I was like, hey, you know what you need? You need TikTok because they tell you the 7 new things that are at Costco every week. That would have been doing way too much. And I already had the LSU Nebraska conversation with the other family.
You're like, I'm good.
Shoot, I felt like I was in Lincoln. I was free.
Yeah.
I could just talk to people.
Just talking to people. Yeah. Out here. So if you go up to people first, it's cool.
Yeah.
If they come up to you, you're uncomfortable.
I'm terrified. As if that doesn't make sense to you with my personality.
I mean, I get it. It's still funny. Yeah. Just because I understand doesn't mean I'm not going to laugh at it.
That's fine. Maybe, yeah. So why? Can I say San Juan? Can I say San Juan?
I mean, that might be doing a little extra. We might be doing a little too much to call Enrique San Juan. It feels a little racially coded there.
Damn.
I mean, like Puerto is borderline. San Juan feels a little aggressive.
Yeah, you totally ruined my morning because I had some funny things to say to him.
I'm not gonna say you can't do it. I'm just laying it out there for you.
It's fine.
Might be a little,
Joke's on me. Ready Clean bars. Ready Clean. All right, Thrill. What do we got with what are the macros in Ready Cleans?
I'm not sure. Although apparently I sold TK my reverse hyper, not the belt squat. I kept forgetting.
Do you realize you can't make a mistake around that dude?
I know. I legitimately forgot what I sold him.
Well, I knew. I'm like Mr. Olympia over there, so I have so much stuff. It's just like
I showed you the setup.
That's pretty ridiculous.
I had a lot of stuff.
I think you needed help.
I had a full ass gym in there.
Did you spend time by yourself, or did you have a significant other and they had to sit through your phases?
No, this was. I was married when that was.
Okay.
I was with Natasha. Yeah, this was in the house we're in right now.
So she's probably like, "Oh my gosh, I've married a hunk," and she's like, "A poo."
Why? Because I'm brown? That's racist.
Puerto.
No, I mean like the guy from The Simpsons.
Do you see Todd? So you guys. I suppose we gotta have. Now, how many days in a row is that gonna be funny?
Forever. It's gonna be funny forever.
Was it D. Marinas or Jacob that said, you said what?
That was D. Marinas.
I said gum. But anyway.
I think Jacob tried not to acknowledge that portion of the conversation.
Yeah, I imagine we probably made him uncomfortable. I feel bad because Jacob's pretty buttoned up. I'm like, we're such miscreants. And we try to drag him down, and he just will not.
He won't. I've never heard that dude curse.
You know what's funny? He doesn't touch any of the racial components either. He just whistles on by.
He just like, whoop.
So what I was going to say is a couple of people have gone back to hear and heard that segment that know me extremely well.
Yeah.
Like they've seen me in all facets, like coaching, parenting, the whole nine. So this particular person knows the slow escalation of my frustration. And he knew it was happening the minute the show started. And so by the time I said what he said, I was like, man, I just snapped. He was like, yeah. Yeah, I just got to see it coming.
It's funny, too, because your tone does change.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's great.
Like, once you've gotten to that point, your tone changes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you like that. You taking notes?
Yeah, I'm like, might need to back off of that one. At least for a couple days.
I've had some interesting last handful of weeks.
Apparently, Rico's family is from, I'm going to say this wrong, Humacao? Not San Juan. So if you want a nickname for him, you got.
It's got to be okay with the individual.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key. Like Asian Wyatt has endorsed Asian Wyatt.
He made it that way.
That's what I mean. Like it's his baby.
It might have been Severe that did it, and we know that dude is
very culturally sensitive.
Extremely PR.
He's practically the poster boy. He does the videos.
He would be doing the Michael Scott seminars.
Yes. Yeah, he would be doing Diversity Day. Michael Severe may have been the inspiration for Michael Scott's Diversity Day.
My old guy, he blasted me on radio. I'm like, hey, you didn't need that walk-off. Could have kept that to yourself.
He's got, there's no filter there.
Saddle.
I just can imagine him doing like HR training for people at the Jet Foundation.
Wouldn't that be something? Hey, guys, I got an idea.
Yeah, that would go over well, I'm sure.
Here's the other thing. So Shane, we've got to get and we're not going to ask anything in depth about interviews or anything, but we got to get Jess this week at some point.
Oh, because she's been on the wrestling deal.
Well, wrestling. She was not particularly enamored with my hot takes on the gender inequality in terms of how we cover sports.
Oh, so she's mad at you now too?
Yes.
Not just me about SGA?
Yeah. She took it too far though.
What did you say that made her mad?
I was being a little dramatic about what men aren't allowed to get away with. She's like, you cheer for guys that cry incessantly. You're a Lakers fan. And I was like, wow, I think I'm mad. And you know the best comeback I had? You can't say that. That doesn't count.
Hey, but I don't even like those guys. Is that what you said?
Yes. It 100% is. I said, I don't even like that guy.
I don't like Luca or LeBron. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
LeBron James.
But I told you. So when I was having the meltdown real time, I told you what was going to happen. Because now what are all the stories coming out of Roland Garros? How athletes are treated differently.
Mm-hmm.
If you look like this, you're allowed to say this. If you don't look like this, you're not. And all of that stemmed from just the simple inability to handle your emotions during a press conference.
So, well, and honestly, during the match too, to be fair. But
no, remember that's okay.
Here's what I can't figure out, because I agree there's a double standard. I don't know what the dichotomy is, though.
Yeah.
I can't tell if it's gender. I can't tell if it's race. I can't tell if it's nationality. I can't tell if it's sport. There is a double standard. I'm having a really hard time pinning down what it is, because I do think we treat people differently in these different arenas. I genuinely cannot figure out which two groups are the different ones, right? Because we talked about tennis. I think tennis in general allows you to be a little bit more emotional than some of the other sports, right? Mm-hmm. male, female.
Tennis has dealt with it
forever.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of ingrained a little bit in the culture of the sport that these people have these breakdowns. They say some wild things.
Let me ask you something. Are you willing to look at it differently in individual sports versus?
Yes.
Because we're getting ready to get into. You could do it with golf.
Yeah.
The conversation yesterday stemmed from wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With Ferrari.
For sure.
Track.
Yeah.
And
very
field
different.
Is maybe the worst.
You've got some really big personalities there that'll say wild
So
things.
you're willing to give more grace for individual sports than you are team sports?
I think so, and I think part of it's because individual sports are so hard in the sense that everything is on you.
Yeah.
Right? All of your success and failure is right here. So I do think that's a little more challenging. There's obviously less of the team aspect or none of the team aspect in the traditional sense. So I do think that you're taking all of the burden. So I do understand a little bit more emotion in those. We see golf meltdowns constantly, whether on course or off course. And we're kind of just like, that's golf, right? Like if any NBA star had the track record of like a Greg Norman, that would be the only thing that we ever talked about with them, right? They would not have a clothing line.
Yeah.
Like I can say that pretty safely.
Like John Rahm can snap clubs.
Yeah, and it's fine, right? John Daly can be John Daly, and he's sort of beloved like caricature, right? You don't get that in team sports generally. Sometimes, but generally you don't.
Unless you're Bo Jackson, then it's cool.
Well, that's because he didn't play for very long, so he gets a little more grace.
He can't help himself.
I really cannot.
He's okay.
But I do think there is a big difference between team sport and individual sports. I don't know if that's the only dichotomy we're talking about because we still have softball in there. That's a totally different. That's, I think, viewed differently than baseball. And again, I don't know if that's a sport issue. I don't know if that's a gender issue. I don't know if it's a race issue. I really don't. But there is a double standard. It's just finding what that is. And that's why I get a little, I don't want to say uncomfortable, a little hesitant to label like, Coco wouldn't be allowed to do this because she's black. I was like, maybe Coco wouldn't be allowed to do that because she's American. I don't know. Like, I do think there's a difference. And I'm not sure what it is.
Were you around following tennis when Serena would say some of the things that she would say? Okay.
Yeah.
So you do have a comparison. You just don't know what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Because Serena's also a black American, right? So I don't know if it's an American thing and we give more leeway to the people outside of our country. Like, I really don't know. I also don't know, to be fair, how that's like how Sabalenka's comments are processed outside of our press, right? Like I'm not consuming Belarusian media, so I don't know.
Is Center American?
He's not. No.
Did you like his immediacy of his delivery with the microphone in front of his face still on the clay?
I don't love Sinner in general.
But yeah,
But I don't mind
how
I don't mind how he handled himself. But again, is it a male female thing? Is it a black white thing? I don't know. That's kind of what I mean. Because it very easily could be a male female thing.
So this is one of my guys. I'm not going to give the state he was in because so many people download and they'll put 8 and 8 together. He's like, hey, catching up on the show. We were in blank city last week to watch my nephew play state baseball. He said opposing teams started doing the tomahawk chant.
Okay.
The ump literally stops the game and tells them no more of that. This isn't softball. Now,
so the team or the fans?
Opposing team.
Okay, so the actual players.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, not to disparage one or the other, because that's not the point of the deal. And I don't want to look at it like he's thumbing his nose down on softball, but he's clearly making a separation in what he deems sportsmanship.
Very different cultures.
Young kids, too.
Yeah.
Young. Fair or foul? Are you robbing the young men of fun and enjoyment of the sporting event? I mean, a state in a pretty big state.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't tell you what state. You
I'm
don't know.
assuming.
What if it was New Hampshire?
I'm assuming that people.
What if it was Vermont?
Could be. Who knows?
What if it was Rhode Island?
It
was neither of those three, so it's okay. It was a big state.
Classically big native populations in those. I'm assuming the people doing the tomahawk chop were the ones named whose nickname was after natives. Is that fair?
No, it doesn't. I don't think it had anything to do with the.
They were just doing it.
Yeah. So hear my heart. It doesn't have. I don't think it's the chop. I don't think it's
like Florida State's or Kansas City's deal.
I think it's the just the antics, the cheering in the dugout.
So here's what I'll say then. I think if there's actual taunting of another team,
You think that's taunting?
No, I don't. That's kind of my point, though. If there is taunting of the other team, I'm okay with being like, hey, let's not do that. If you're cheering your own team, I'm kind of okay with whatever.
I don't even know Zoe's age group because it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But in her softball game last night, like they're already teaching the chants in the dugout, and she literally just turned 7.
Yeah,
fair or foul?
Again, as long as you're encouraging your own team, I'm cool.
Okay.
I do think there's a big difference because where we get in like Women's College World Series and stuff like that is you end up sort of taunting the other team.
Yeah. Do you know quietly what one of my problems is?
What's that?
Do we just think men can't control themselves?
No, I understand. Yeah, that's kind of what I got you were getting at with between baseball and softball.
Do we just think that we can't control ourselves?
So the way I take it, and again, maybe I'm giving people too much credit here, which is generally not a thing that is said about me, but it happens. Part of it, I do think baseball specifically, we can be so like baseball people are very precious about the game. Like they're very, this is how you play baseball. Because we see it with Latin Americans too in the major leagues. Like Latin Americans get a lot of blowback for how they play the game versus how the game's supposed to be played. And it kind of reminds me of the softball versus baseball dynamic. That's why I think in baseball, softball, it might be a sport thing, not a gender thing, because people are very precious about protecting how they think baseball should be played. And softball doesn't really have that burden, I don't think. So I do, in that one, I do think that's a very specific baseball thing. Like, oh, hey, we just don't do that. More than a gender thing.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen a lot of, I remember when I couldn't have been more than about 10. And that's when I really started like pitching in Little League. And I struck a guy out. I think I had struck out the side. I was very excited. I turned to my dugout and I gave like a yell. I'm like 10 years old.
So are you cool? Like, let's say AJ Ferrari gets first period pen and he drops the splits.
Yeah.
We're good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as he doesn't drop the splits on his opponent,
we're good.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Okay. I'm just setting the stage for what I think is this prism in which we view things and what things are allowed and what things aren't. A lot of times depends on gender, and it drives me up the wall.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm okay with just about. And listen,
and maybe we've proven we just aren't trustworthy when it comes to handling our emotions, but historically that isn't the case.
I am here for a good trash talking as much as anybody, but I'm saying like if we're going to crack down on things, I understand if it's taunting. I don't understand if it's celebratory.
You watched a collegiate guy get tossed for the helmet tap, right?
Yeah. That's an ump ego thing though. Like that's all that is. An ump's fragile ego was broken, and so he tossed a guy.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So we're dealing with a whole other thing with baseball umps if we're talking about that.
What if I make a sweet catch in the outfield and
like our guy from the A's last night,
and I give you double barrel, blow smoke, 2 swipe, shake? You cool?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm good.
You're going to be because of your temperament, but I think
I know a lot of people would not be.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm saying for where I care about these things, I'm cool if it's celebratory. Sports are supposed to be fun. Baseball's a really hard game. Celebrate when you win. I'm cool. I don't even have that much of an issue if everybody can kind of police themselves, which they can't really.
Which I get because you watch World League Baseball, and there's definitely contrasting styles in how flair and celebratory things are perceived.
The Latin and Central America, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
Like it's just part. And then you go to Asia, Japan, the Koreas are very buttoned up, even more so than the American game is. So like there's a dramatic contrast in styles. So I get that. That's why I brought up, like, I don't know if it's sport. I don't know if it's culture. I don't know what it is.
It's fair.
But I do think, like, because I would compare Latin and Central American baseball players pretty similarly to how softball players behave. It's much closer than basically any other version of baseball that we see.
Yeah, I'll ride with Thrill on this. Shane, you have to bold that again because I cannot read. I need Terry Francona's glasses. Did you see his horn rims that he sports?
Listen, I love Tito.
I need those.
That's my guy.
How about that guy just changing zip codes in the same state though?
Hey, and the Reds are okay.
No, he's fantastic. It seems to be a sports culture thing more than a double standard, or more than a double standard. And I think this is a for instance, i.e., por ejemplo. Shout out Rico. How does the athlete or team act within the context of what is viewed as acceptable in the sport? Seems each sport has its own lens. I could probably vibe with that, except now you're getting coaches that speak out across the sports.
Which is why I didn't love the Texas Tech deal.
I get it.
Because I do think it's different.
I get it.
Like, if, again, the going rate, Matt Rule said this, the going rate for a quarterback in Power 5 football, Power 2 football, whatever power number football you want to deal with, is $1 million. So when a quarterback gets a 7-figure deal, we don't blink because that's the going rate. We understand that. The going rate for a softball pitcher is not $1 million. It has not been historically. So that's a bigger deal when that happens. Should it be brought up on the broadcast? Maybe not. But we don't really talk about softball in any other place. So where else are you going to bring it up if you feel like it's an important context of the story?
Things that make it go.
Asian Wyatt said Koreans love a good bat flip.
You guys laugh. There's no other word for Wyatt than naughty.
I love that dude.
Hey, I'm telling you, he's the little kid where you say, Timmy, don't touch that. And he's going to mosey on over there and he's going to finger tap that thing.
He also seems like the kid that everybody.
He'll leave a handprint on your freshly washed car window.
He seems like
put a streak on your dusty trunk. You know what I mean? That seems like as I'm wagging my finger. Sorry. What?
He also seems like one of those guys that you would never suspect because he's so like he comes across so just like even keeled and mild mannered, and then all of a sudden you see him in the comments, you're like, what the hell? What the hell?
Kind of like D. Marinas with the fried wing thing yesterday. I don't know if I appreciated that so much.
I know what to expect from D. Marinas.
Jeez. They do make good wings, though.
You do love a Korean barbecue wing.
Different. I love Korean barbecue. But I also like
wings,
Asian-styled wings with the crisp,
from like Chinese places or wherever.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pacific Rim-ish.
Yeah, somewhere in Southeast Asia, Pacific Rim like the movie?
Certainly not Indian, though, because you guys don't like crispy skin.
No. Well, it's because we wear sunscreen. It's important when you're closer to the equator. No? No? You good?
Yeah.
Don't matter to me. But
hi, Shador. I'm sick of hearing about you, too.
Listen, going to be starting quarterback in Cleveland.
Apparently, Flacco loves this dude.
Well, I mean, Flacco's very old.
But it would I wish I should have cut the clip up last week when asked about the mentoring.
Yeah.
Just to compare and contrast the difference between Flacco's answer and what Russell Westbrook said about being in New York. Russell Westbrook was like all in. Hey, man, I'm here to impart wisdom. I want other people to be better. I mean,
Russell
a typical
Wilson.
Canned Russell Wilson answer.
Yeah.
Flacco was
the try-hard answer.
Flacco was more like, I don't know. I mean,
what happened?
Whatever happens to rub off, rubs off, man. But
so you went the Brett Favre route, is what you're telling me.
No, wasn't
not quite that far,
but it wasn't as bad as old
Split
Brett.
The difference.
Yeah, this is very interesting to hear two different answers, just 3 days apart, basically.
Wasn't like Klay Thompson when they signed KD. He says, "I'm not giving up bleep."
No, wasn't exactly like
that. We love Klay.
Yeah, I'll rock with Will this morning. I understand the lens thing.
Sports culture is different. Like every
except
sports culture
for
is
it's
different.
now. It's you get other coaches that talk about it. We heard Kim Mulkey. Now she's a little extreme.
A little? She's a little extreme?
Now it doesn't detract from
she's great at her job.
Info that I'm about to let you.
I'm just saying.
In on.
A little is she's very
she was not very happy, nor was Don Staley about some of the extracurriculars that their respective teams were called for
Okay.
that they said are allowed in the men's game from a celebratory standpoint. So she's saying it just the other way, where because you perceive them to be these not very temperamental, go along to get along, as she said, docile, which I felt like was a little extreme. They aren't allowed to play with emotion without being characterized a certain way. She said, men, on the other hand.
It's a pretty good mulkey.
And I'm like, see, we're getting this.
Here's the argument I would make, though.
So it's probably pretty good, huh?
It is pretty good, Kim. I like your clothing line.
So it's probably pretty good, huh?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. You imagine being, never mind. Nope.
I would argue that men and women's basketball are different sports, though. So I do think the sports culture thing that Will brought up is also accurate.
I would say do tell, but I assume we have to take a break.
Yeah, seems like a good time. That's
So it's
TV.
probably pretty good, huh?
I'm
Pretty
Ravi.
good. That's great. I
It's-
like that.
it's probably-
Probably pretty good.
It's probably pretty
So it's
good,
probably
huh?
pretty good, huh?
I like that. Nice little pull. That could be applicable to a lot of things that I'll be saying.
Well, hell yeah, I want to do it now.
Not so much.
DB, big Kim Mulkey guy.
So
No,
it's probably
just
pretty good.
no. See,
Sounds like we're endorsing.
were you the kid in art class that got the biggest brush? Because that's how you like to paint. They're like, hey, the little guy in the corner with the comb over and the perfect hair. You need a great big brush because that's all your strokes. They're huge, all encompassing, broad.
No, I like to do a little fine.
No, that is that is not.
No, so here's the deal: is when I'm helping out with somebody else's painting, I'm gonna use a real big brush. When I'm working on mine, I'm gonna get real into the details.
I get it. Oh, that's funny, huh, Shane? You got a little sidekick today. That's cute. You brought your
So
little
it's probably pretty good.
you brought
huh?
your little friend, our producer, to work today.
It's probably pretty good, huh?
So it's probably pretty good, huh?
He did turn me on to a good movie I watched yesterday.
Oh, which one?
It's a cartoon.
Was it actually a good movie?
It's really good.
Okay.
Killer of Killers.
Killer of Killers?
Yes, that was the title.
That doesn't even sound like a real thing.
No, it's a real thing.
All right, I'll Google it during the break. That's DB. I'm Ravi. We'll be back more Hurrdat Sports Live. I'm Ravi Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. Gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free, it runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at Westroads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to Westroads.
$250 round trip, can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
Give me that cheddar, and Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Yeah, it's fun. I grew up playing against Jason and Isaac a lot, so it's fun just being on their team now. They're great players, and playing with everyone is going to be fun.
What's been your early impression of the group so far?
It's a lot of fun. Everyone's pretty outgoing. A lot of jokes. being made and stuff, but, you know, when it's time, we're pretty serious, and everyone's good. You know, I feel like we have a really good roster and a lot of guys that will be able to play.
A successful financial future is built one coin at a time. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned saver, we've got the financial resources and team of experts who will be with you every step of the way. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
I'd say we had about 5 or 6 visits, and I'd say we went 6 for 6. So I mean that was pretty fun. But kind of coming out of last season, Coach Mack and Trae and DK and some of those assistant coaches told us like this is our deal. Like so, kind of like they wanted us to take lead and help them kind of start building relationships with the kids or like with the guys that we're about to get. And I think we got some very fun guys and some really good players.
Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you get those seatbelts fastened when you're on the road. They prevent injuries and saves lives, but only if worn properly. This message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. DB.
Hi.
Just, your casual 1 hour first segment there. Not a big deal.
Wait. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Did he explain why he just did that?
I think he had to plug his computer in.
No big deal.
I don't think
That's something I would do.
Outlet over here
is to hide behind the stools and sit in the corner.
It's true. Now I can't see his reactions when you.
It's fine.
When you nickname our coworkers after where they're from.
Do you know what he really wants to say? He's
What?
like, didn't I tell you I was coming early to try to work? Why are you trying to involve me in a show before 9 o'clock when I can actually contribute? This back and forth.
He's going to take the stools down now.
Oh, don't let me. Listen, I'd be the same way. I haven't opened those blinds in like 3 years. It's fine.
No, that's the only time he yells at Shane is when the blinds are open when he comes in here.
I don't invite eyeballs.
And
that's
he goes,
for sure.
Shane, how long have we been doing a show together? How many times do I have to tell you that the blinds need to be down when I get in here? Am I wrong?
Shane, is that how I sound? Be honest. Keep it a buck.
I really got to be careful on what I say about that.
That's a yes. That's a yes.
It's not even that serious. Although I did like to do the show in the dark for years.
That's true. Whenever we were at the old studio, it was lights were off until 10 a.m.
Well, we weren't. This whole video world the last handful of years has really curbed my style.
It has a little bit. It's all right. It's good for you.
It's fine.
Adapt.
No.
React.
Jared, you're exactly right. It is Predator universe. It is a great show.
Alien versus?
Nope. Killer of Killers.
I mean, imagine my surprise that you're into a movie called Killer of Killers. I'm stunned.
I know what you're trying to do.
Just seems very much in line with your interests.
Shane, but that movie, you can vouch for this. What do I always tell you? It's not the act of the actual kill. It's the what?
It's the process.
It's the hunt, yes.
Which to me, I think is worse.
Which is exactly what this thing was. It was all about the hunt.
And that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they
so,
said it.
I might put a poll on Twitter here. Are you more mentally disturbed if you enjoy the actual killing or the process of getting there? Because I think a valid argument can be made that the people interested in the process might be a little worse.
Yeah.
You talking to a ghost?
Right before Zoe's softball game yesterday, I binged 2 episodes back to back of Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Season 5, episode 19.
Okay.
Called Rite of Passage.
Okay.
And it was fascinating. Do you want to know what I was fascinated by?
I would love to.
Why somebody that protected people that crossed the border would actually turn into a killer of people that actually crossed the border. It is a fascinating show. But they did this interview with the guy that they first thought was the killer.
Yeah.
He gave me the willies. But I saw it on TikTok, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back and get that episode.
Yeah.
And it was as good as I remember.
Just everything you'd hope it would be?
Yeah. Right before I go watch little ladies go pound softballs. That's how my mind works. It's balance, Robbie, balance.
Todd, I believe he means the process of getting to the point of the kill.
Correct.
Right, yeah. Like the planning, the plotting,
Yeah.
the stalking.
Yes. The sharpening of the bow or the knives or the arrows or, where's the animal moving?
I don't think you're helping yourself out as much.
Oh, I'm talking about hunting too.
Okay.
It's do you want the correlation, numbnuts, since you're trying to paint me into
No, I don't. What is the correlation?
Who's a black serial killer that didn't use a gun? Because I'm not very fond
Not
of
a big
guns.
gun guy?
No, not so.
It's not personal enough.
Not the DC sniper dude, but
yeah. Not a lot of black serial killers.
That's a little false, but relative to the infamous serial killers,
yeah,
correct.
Yeah,
correct. Not that
the brand name serial killers. Not a lot of black ones. There's some market pantry serial killers.
Wow.
There's some Kirkland serial killers out there.
Wow.
But not a lot of the brand name.
It's a lot like the analogy for me is the sports is sports, where you actually the game is the kill, right? The game is the actual kill.
The practice and everything.
The fun
is the process.
The work, the preparation.
No, I get that part.
The stalking of the opponent to break down tendencies. That's what I love. Do you see how my mood changes when I even can remotely just get into it?
I do, yeah.
Right.
I feel like I need to be careful here.
Kind of like a Rambo.
He's not really a hunter. He's a survivalist. Now, when he went hunting down the stretch, because his second to last one was extremely dark, when he did tell somebody he was going to tear his heart out, and he actually did.
Yeah.
But that was a vengeance thing.
Would you like vengeance? You're a John Wick guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of why I like John Wick. Kind of corny.
Yeah.
But he's cool in how methodical he is. And he's very determined. I can admire that.
You like the perseverance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's really what it is.
No, I get that. Most people find a line though where they're like, yeah, I'm cool with it in sports. Maybe I stop with the murders. You know what I mean?
No, you're exactly right.
I hate how you make it sound.
By correctly repeating the things back to you. You say that all the time. You're like, oh, you make it sound so bad. And I say almost verbatim the thing that you said.
Yeah, my head is complicated.
That's fair.
It's a lot, but it's a lot like sports.
Big Avril Lavigne guy, complicated.
I didn't so much get into her.
Canadian.
I'm watching this there's summer workouts and stuff. One of the things
I do like process. I can understand that. I give you a hard time, but
I want to know how things work.
I do.
I want to know how people think.
And I will say,
I want to know how things work, right?
Yes, and I agree with that. I want to know how people think because I do find people's motivations fascinating.
Yeah. It's why I always take the mental battery component over testing.
Yeah. Now there's a bare minimum, right?
Sure.
In terms of athletic ability.
Yeah, but given the choice.
Yeah. No, I understand. And I get that. I do appreciate
KB. We're not we'll land the plane here shortly, Kyle.
Probably not. Hope Trae's not listening to this segment.
Okay. These guys are whacking.
Part of it does have to do with why I'm enamored. Part of the reason what I'm talking about is why I wanted to not leave before the interview, though.
Yeah.
Because I'm very interested in how methodical he is.
Yeah.
How he goes about his business.
I'm fast.
It's interesting for how young he is.
It is, because he's gonna be a junior.
Yeah.
Right. I do find I've never seen, and maybe this is because the only high-profile quarterback Nebraska's gotten recently came in late with Dylan. He wasn't really committed early in doing this whole process thing, and so maybe I haven't seen it up close. But the way that Trae's going about, I mean, he seems like he's on staff.
Mm-hmm.
The way he's working, the way he's advocating for the university, the way he's recruiting other players, like it feels like he works for Nebraska.
The whole advocating of the university thing. Anytime I get a chance to talk about this, I'm going to, because I think you have to understand how important it is. And it dips its hand into all facets of what this staff is trying to do, even the athletic department. You saw the quotes from Damon the other day about what he's looking forward to most. And he's like, hey, you know what? I want out of the antitrust, the settlements, the revenue sharing. I want to play games, right? I want to play games. And I was fascinated by that, not at the kill or the end of what he said, but why he thinks the way he does. Because he's been as malleable and adaptable with this ever-changing process as anybody could be in a position of leadership. He has been more than flexible, as has his head coach in terms of dealing with all the nuances in the day-to-days. See, that interests me. How can you be like that and be so flexible and want to problem solve and not sit here and whine about this particular thing that you don't like a ton, or you may want to say it's not fair, versus, all right, this is the hand I'm dealt. How do I play the best game possible? Those things interest me. Now, am I interested in the actual kill, the season? Yeah. But I'll tell you a whole lot more about how the season went, knowing a lot more and understanding how we got here. I'm not a big, like, you just don't all of a sudden wind up broke or divorced or.
Yeah, there's a process.
Like, walk me through it.
Yeah. How'd we get here?
How'd we get here?
I will say,
and sometimes it's not as easy as, well, duh, she's pregnant. I know it happens.
It's not a straight line.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and for Nebraska, if they want to win, I can't stress this enough. If they want to win at the level that this fan base wants them to win, that you believe that they can win, as you have them delicately penciled in as a double-digit win team.
Yep.
See, all this stuff matters. The process matters. And until you're in love with the process, you can't function at a high level during the kill. You just can't.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I get that.
So,
that's the reason I sit here and I say, yeah, I think this can be a double-digit win team. It's the reason I sit here and I say, I think by next year they're in the college football playoff. Like, I appreciate that. And I also.
Do you know how bad I wanted to ask Caleb? Why are they using you? Why are they using you and Branch for
Bruno?
Yeah. For CJ. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Because that if he wanted to share that with me, he would. But I am fascinated at what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Right. I understand the David Sanders thing. I understand the Sharmar Brown. Like, I understand a lot of the process, and it gives me a good glimpse into what they're after with this particular thing.
Yeah.
Stuff like that interests me.
I do find it fascinating. You brought up kind of how Rule and Dannon have navigated this, and with the house
super choppy waters.
So yeah, with the house settlement coming down, it seems like we might finally get some clarity, but we were in limbo for 18 months, basically.
And in the meantime, what are they doing? Finding a way to function.
Yeah, keep moving forward
at a high level.
So what I find fascinating, though,
they just pulled off this Boneyard deal, 7-on-7. And it was so well done we're kind of dismissive at, oh man, that was a heck of an event. Do you know how much, like, to simultaneously do what they were doing while being on the road and divvying up responsibilities and being in on 27s and 28s and continually making, like, you just don't roll out of the rack and get stuff done, which is why I'm going to continue to say, if they ever win at
the monster,
at the clip that we want them to win, they will turn into a machine.
Yeah. Like, if they are who I think they are the next 2 years,
it would be scary.
It's a wrap. I mean,
You know,
really.
it's like it would be the epitome of just buying stock at a penny stock, because nobody really believes in Nebraska except Nebraskans. Which is why I think part of the process that he's looking for in young people is you have to want us
People
to.
that want to be here.
You have to want us to.
Yeah, I can't have to talk you into it.
I mean, and that's any healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, boss, employee, boyfriend, girlfriend.
You can't beg them to be there.
Husband, spouse. You want the cheerleader. You want somebody that is for you. If you, once you cross that bridge, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah.
It's not foolproof, but you give yourself the best chance to have success. And sometimes young people that are being recruited now don't understand that, because they're still operating under the, well, what can you do for me? But part of it is what you can do for them too.
Yeah.
Like that's part of it.
And what you
which
want,
is why I always say, like, they recruit like a top 15 program philosophically. So they're going to shoot their shot, and they're going to win some, and they're going to lose a ton.
Yeah.
Until they start winning. But the process, they're
Stays
not
the same.
wavering.
I do find it fascinating, because I would call, and you would have a better idea, I would call
I doubt it.
Coach, you would.
Today is exceptionally difficult to read.
With the eyeballs?
Yes.
I would call Coach Rule a fairly principled person. Is that fair?
Yes. Yes.
So you know what I find fascinating is being malleable and adaptable through choppy waters while being extremely principled.
It's the most fascinating thing about
right?
it.
Because that's really hard to balance.
If I really could take, what is it, sodium pentothal or whatever, the true serum?
The not so true serum.
Look, how are you so lock, stock, in what you believe philosophically works versus going with the flow?
Yeah.
What's one of the questions that I asked him in the very first sit down in Lincoln? 100 degrees out there. The umbrellas are blowing like crazy. And I'm like, how do you not fall into the trap of, I've been here, I've done this, this is work, I need to make all those things portable here?
Yeah. Just run the plays back, run the playbook back from.
And he's like,
Temple
hey,
and
you know,
Baylor.
it's like different environments, different timing. Like, that's why I compare the years, Baylor, this, that, and the other. Like, I'm going to pull out things that have worked. I'll see where we're at. A lot of people say that they're a lifelong learner, but they aren't willing to take the day-to-day lessons,
and they're not willing to change based on what they learn.
And
that's the real thing,
there's
right?
there's this fine line between blowing like a leaf in the goddamn wind versus standing on 10 toes down, right? And you can have 10 toes down and still be learning along the way, because he understands the core root of what he wants this program to be. The periphery that he's grabbed, the things that he's grabbing on the periphery to roll with the times, are supplements. They're not supplanting what he believes at his core. He's told us from the jump, hey, I get it. Landscape in the Big Ten's changing. Teams are being added. NIL, the transfer portal. I still believe that this will boil down to the coaches that work the hardest and work the smartest. We have to work smarter, not harder, in terms of how to navigate this. He didn't get into any of it. He said this in Indy. It's not scripted. The question was impromptu, but it's still what he believes is going to be the essence of this program. Or when he talks about what's going on in the offseason, or why mat drills are important, or when he would say things like, early on, you remember when he said, hey, I mean, we're listening, we're taking some ideas, and we got the great TO, and I'm getting input from here, and I'm talking to former coaches, but at the end of the day, I mean, we won 4 games last year. So what are we talking about? Like, you kind of got to let me do my job.
Yeah.
So there's that where he appears to be taking
Like you hired me to do it my way.
But he's really listening to other things that are going on too. He said it in that everything that makes him fascinating, he said in that one little encapsulation of the sit down. Hey, don't get it twisted. You guys haven't won much, so chill on the recommendations for me. But I'll listen if you could substantiate why you think that way.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the core of who he is. And he'll tell you, anybody can criticize him if you have either solutions or it's well thought out. And it's the well thought out part isn't even as subjective as you'd think. He knows.
Yeah. You can tell when people have given something thought, whether you agree with the thought process or not.
Yeah.
You can tell when they've actually put thought into it.
Yeah. And how nice would that be in all your relationships?
I mean, I think you disagree with my thought process constantly, but I think for the most part, you are like, oh, he's thought about this a lot. I disagree with his conclusions.
Yeah, because I understand.
Yeah, but I don't think there's very many times you look at me and you're like, you haven't thought about this at all.
Yeah, and if I do,
yeah,
typically aggression isn't going to be I'm not going to shut it down.
Yeah,
you'll
try and flesh it out.
Tell me more.
Yeah, like make me work through it.
Tell me more.
What I do find,
and sometimes what will I say? Okay.
You're like, I'll hear that. I'll think about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes it works.
The thing that I sort of find fascinating about the principle versus adaptable thing is I feel like, and I've sort of reached this in my own life and some of the things I believe, I feel like your principles need to be more, I don't know if abstract's the right word, but they need to be less like granular. Because a lot of people's principles get really, really specific about details. And when you do that, your principles kind of have to change all the time as circumstances change. If your principles are sort of philosophical, then you can apply them to a lot of different situations. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I'm trying to think of a good example of this.
Do you want a light one that I'm thinking of right as I'm listening to you process that? I like to sit down and eat as a family.
Yeah.
It's important to me. But I also have to understand there's however many different schedules, however many different heads. So sometimes I'm going to have to process all that's going on and give in here, change this, adjust this. But at the end of the day, I still want to eat together.
Well, and so the time for you, it's about make sure you spend time as a family together daily, right? Yeah. It's not about, oh, we have to eat this meal at this time. So that's what I mean, philosophical versus granular. It's not like, hey,
that's
everybody.
A really good, yeah. I'm with that.
Everybody has to be home at 6 p.m. to have this for dinner.
Yeah, because that's not what I'm saying.
Because that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's not.
You want to make sure you spend time together as a family on a daily basis.
That's what I'm saying.
That's philosophical. Granular is if you're not home at 6 o'clock, you're not part of the family anymore, right? That's a totally different thing. I would argue, and he started to come back around on it, but for a while, I feel like Dabo, his principles were too detailed. His principles about like, we don't really do the transfer portal, and we're not really going to fight the NIL game and things like that. I think
and people that are all along the granular level can succeed.
Yes, they can.
It's just when the things change around them,
especially dramatically.
Well, you saw it with Saban,
yeah,
or Belichick. Now we'll see what Belichick has learned. He appears to be. I don't know if I can't quite say if he's adapted yet because I haven't seen the product.
He's different though.
He's definitely different.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
25. I don't know what it's going to produce.
But he is a different person than he was 5 years ago.
Like Saban just tapped, right? Jay Wright just tapped.
And Saban adapted for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? He adapted offenses with Lane Kiffin.
An interesting one?
Well, who's that?
Kirby Smart. Because he was winning the other game.
Yes. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how he does
had adapted.
Now. Yes.
He had to catch Bama.
He caught
adjusted. He adapted.
He beat him. And now he has to try again.
Now he's got to
adapt again.
Yeah.
He's got to redo it. Right? So
I'm rocking with that. That's life too.
It is. And that's why I brought up, like I had kind of reached that with some of the things I believe, because I do think it applies across a lot of different areas of life. But I do, like, that's part of the reason. Like, I know people give me a hard time about, like, oh, you're obsessed with Rule or whatever. But it's like, because I watch him operate and it's so different. Like, I would argue that some of the past coaches for Nebraska, and I'm not just talking about one guy, I do think it's several guys, that their philosophies were too granular and they had a hard time adapting when things changed. And that's part of why they struggled, because they couldn't get their minds around, okay, these variables are different. So some of my details don't apply here anymore, but they kind of try and square a peg round hole that thing. And you end up not with the results that you want because you're not adaptable enough within your principles. Like it can, and that's what's really hard is to an outsider, it can feel wishy-washy.
Man.
If you're not paying attention, you can come off as, a little too in the breeze. But
I'm going to try to cut and paste this article that was sent to me yesterday because we brought up McVay. And Josh.
McVay's a really good example of this, I think.
Vice sent it to me on the heels of what we were talking about.
Because he's a big Rams fan. I think I've talked to him about being a big Rams fan.
You know what? I think you're right. Because I wondered.
Why he was on it?
Yeah.
I think he's a big Rams fan.
Gotta be.
I think so.
Gotta be. Because McVay almost burned out.
Yeah. The people thought he was going to leave.
And he got the call from Peterson. Boise and Washington. And that's a lot. It's a lot of it. The granular versus, because I was making the case when we were talking about young coaches.
And a lot of young coaches are real granular in their details. A lot of them.
Permeating.
I think it's why some of the OCs fail as head coaches.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Which is one of the cool things
about McVay, about O'Connell, about some of the, I feel like that's part of the reason you love KOC a lot.
It is. Yeah. I'm a huge KOC guy because from everything that you read and you hear, it is pervasive throughout the building. So now he doesn't have to do it on his own anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody shares in the process.
Yeah. Everybody's on the same page now.
McVay needed that. He
needed guys that were on the same page.
He was overwhelmed. He should have just won a Super Bowl and he's miserable.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my barber, it's like, I'm like, why can't I get my personal life and business success on this? They never seem
same
to
page
go
at the same time.
Almost never.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to reevaluate the process.
Yeah.
From the granular to a little more abstract. But the McVay thing, I wasn't even surprised. But I was like, wow, that's deep. Because on the surface, you could just see, I've been there where it's like people think you're functioning at a high level, and it's like,
but you're just burning out.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm miserable. This crash is imminent.
Yeah, you feel it coming.
Imminent, right? So, I totally was vibing with that, and shoot, I like McVay now more than
when he won the Super Bowl.
And
you've been a big
McVay guy.
McVay I was super impressed when all of the chips that they cashed in to win the Super Bowl finally started to come to roost. Mixing metaphors there, and they were kind of out of, and people were like, oh, it's gonna be a terrible team, and then they were still good. That's where I was like, oh, this guy is actually a really good coach.
What did I remember when I told you I was going down to Lincoln? I said, and it wasn't even a check on him. But I would extend a message. Hey, are you good? Because I was listening to the pressers and some of the vibes.
Felt a little frustrated.
I'm like, fudge, man, I think
it's getting to him a little bit.
I've seen this before, man. I don't know. So I would just reach out and, why are you asking? And I'd say, this, and this, and he'd say, well, nobody usually just checks on me, so I appreciate that. And I'm like, so then when we were around each other, I was like, hey, let me tell you where that came from. And he said, this is during the coaches clinic, and he said, actually now over the last 2 months, I'm starting to hit my stride. We've got this in place in the building. We've got this in place in the building. We're getting the department set up. I think the common vision and the unity of purpose is
You think Snow has helped him? Having a guy that knows.
That's part of it.
So he doesn't have to do it on his own?
That's part of it.
Okay.
That is definitely part of it, right? You get Coach Stewart. You get Pat Stewart. You had to recover from the December and January because it was
a grind.
It was tough.
It was nonstop.
And you're losing guys left and right. And on the heels,
coaches and players,
of losing Coop to start the year.
Who was their guy? It was his guy.
Yeah.
That was like
then,
his guy.
Then the night. So I'm just like, you're revamping the staff quietly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your support staff is changing dramatically. But one of the things that I wanted to know is I've seen ducks, right?
Mm-hmm. The little flapping below the water.
It's chill.
Yeah.
And then underneath, it's a mess. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm emotionally invested in this now. Like, I really like this dude. He's close now, so I need to make sure we're good.
That he's okay,
right? And just the way that he described it was, in short, was just transitioning from the day-to-day minutia, yuck, get rid of it, to bigger. We're on par. We're moving in the right direction. We got to rest in that and keep moving forward, which is why I always talk about his flexibility in navigating the moment. And maybe he hasn't earned the credit yet outwardly.
Sure.
But if they win, and I still think he deserves credit.
Yeah.
Because this is a very difficult period of time to navigate. And you kind of heard the frustration in Dannon's responses in his interview, where it was like, I just want to play ball. Like, we underestimate the toll that, how would you like to go to work every day and have very little direction on what the parameters are in which you're supposed to function, yet people are telling you how to function?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, and you're responsible for a ton. And we're kind of dismissive because we kind of just drill it down to the games.
We are incredibly
and wins and losses, but it's hard to get there.
We're incredibly dismissive of the administrative part of coaching a football team.
Oh, man, listen.
Like,
why do you think I love the process?
You know what I mean?
But yes.
Like, the part of, like, just the people, like, how many, we're at what, almost a couple hundred staffers total?
Yeah.
Or it's at least 100, I think. Where between support staff, athletic staff, coaching staff.
How about new faces?
Academic staff.
New faces in new places. Like getting acclimated to what the central core of what they want to do is.
And, like, Matt Rule is the boss of all of them.
Yep.
Now, he's got other managers, but he's the boss of all of them.
You make no mistake.
Yeah, like, make no mistake who's asking here, right? Or who's answering the bill here. Like, he's picking up the check.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And so I do think there's a lot of that can be, until you get it in the place you want to be, exhausting, right? I think it's in the place he wants it to be now. Getting close. I feel like you can see a little bit more life breathed into him because he's not in the minutia of, well, I got to hire this person to do this. And I got to hire this, and I got to find somebody I trust to do this.
When he said, I'm as good as I've been since I've been here, listen. I mean, you talk about
breath of relief,
skirt and pom-poms. Like, I cheer for him, right? Like,
yeah. Speaking of people we want to cheer for, Trae Taylor, Nebraska 27 quarterback commit, coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
I'm Ravi, Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. It's gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free. It runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at West Roads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to West Roads.
$250 round trip. Can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by Trae Taylor, Nebraska 2027 quarterback commit. Trae, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How about you?
Oh, good. We are good. We appreciate you taking the time. We've got it on good authority. You're in the middle of speed training, and the link was giving you fits, and so you're adapting, hitting a curveball, and doing the phone with us, man. So we appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Trae, I got to ask you, so I've been fascinated watching since you've committed to Nebraska, how quickly you've gone to work in terms of advocating for the university. Was that discussed through your recruiting process with Nebraska, or how did that come about where you just felt so convicted to be like, hey, now that I'm in, we got to get everybody else going too?
I think it's always kind of been like a plan in place for me to heavily recruit, honestly, wherever I went. But how nice Nebraska is and just the coaching staff and facilities, it just makes it 10 times easier to recruit there. So like people talk about how I've suddenly shown how I really want to get Ahmad to Nebraska, but people don't really see how this process has been going on for a little bit over 6 to 8 months really of me texting him and us just building this relationship. So the recruiting process, it's been going on, and me recruiting kids and trying to get all of us together in one place. It's been going on for a while.
One of the things I'm fascinated by, and I've watched you for a while, and the background, I do play-by-play for the university and for the network, and I've gone to school there. I've got a kiddo that's on the team there now. I've seen this thing for 30 years up close, and so I always watch young people, and I always say to our fan base and people across the state of Nebraska, you always want to start with players that don't need a babysitter, right? That are self-motivated, that haven't always had the highest of highs, that have kind of managed lows. Like, rigor is hard in college. One of the things that fascinates me about you, watching you so far, is your emotional maturity, where you seem like you've been here before, like maybe you should have been born in another decade or I don't know what it is, but very, very savvy and experienced for your age. You got to help our listeners, or help me better understand like where that comes from, like where those seeds were planted in terms of how you deal with your day-to-day.
I mean, really, obviously for my parents, they've grown and installed that into me, but at the end of the day, a lot of it comes with having that emotional part, is having hard days, that people don't always see. So when it looks like it's a hard day, it's really just a normal day in the office. So for me, it's really like I've definitely gone through a lot more than what you guys have seen so far, as just football alone, just like that part. So really, you kind of got to think about like what worse have I been through, and where does it stand, right? So, and I think of it like this: I'm in college. I'm in a college atmosphere now. Like, this can't be this day was hard. No, it's got to be this day was easy, and it gets harder.
Wow. That's incredible. See, people make fun of me, Trae, because sometimes, I overshare, and I tell this story about being benched on national television against UCLA in the early 90s, and kind of how it was the springboard for me to understand highs and lows and to navigate. And you're always talking about how we don't see what's the hard part of actual football. When you're going through those days and you may not want to get up, or the workout is tough, or we may only see the stats. We don't see, maybe you're hurt, or maybe the teammates aren't vibing, or maybe the hometown fans are hard on you because you're not going to that school, or whatever it is. How do you reset? Like, where's the point in which you tell yourself, like from a self-awareness standpoint, like, you know what? This isn't that bad. On to the next thing. Like, how do you do that self-awareness real time?
Honestly, it's for the high school part. It's I got everybody watching me, and like that's as simple as it is. You can't expect to be a leader and not have everybody watching you. So I think that's the biggest part. And then, thinking ahead to college football, I got, again, everybody watching me, and there's even bigger standards there. So it's not living up to those standards, it's living up to my standards.
Trae, so as you talk about that and you talk about living up to your standards, I can see why you and Coach Rule vibed right off the bat there, because that's something he talks about.
He sounds just like you.
Constantly. Sounds like we're talking to a clone of Coach Rule here, actually, a little bit, which I love. But I do wonder, like, with that, hey, everybody's watching. To you, Coach Rule has this saying, pressure is a privilege. Is that how you navigate the fact that there is a little bit more pressure with everybody's watching? You understand that's part of the privilege of what you get to do?
Yeah, I think pressure is more of something people put on themselves, because you shouldn't have pressure if you love what you're doing.
From a preparation standpoint, Trae, one of the things that Coach Rule talks about is like just your football acumen, your football IQ. And sometimes I think people think, oh, it's just 7-on-7. It's not real football. Then they go back and they pit it against the tape. When you're talking about acumen or football IQ, I should say, how does 7-on-7 help you as it relates to what you actually are going to be doing on Friday nights and eventual on Saturdays?
Well, 7-on-7 is a lot faster than real football, if we're being honest. I mean,
wow. Said no one ever. I like it.
Well, so like think about it. Yeah, there's no O-line or D-line, but you, instead of linebackers, you have DBs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're literally going against 7 DBs. So windows get shorter. Kids are, DBs now are 6'3", 6'2", 6'3" with long arms. So those windows get closer. They get shorter. Everything needs to be everything needs to be faster. You also get, yes, that's true. Well, 7-on-7 is also easier because you get a clearer picture, because you don't have the O-line, D-line from a quarterback standpoint. So you see more clear the safeties rotate. You see when they spread. You see when a backer flies out and then leaves the middle wide open. So like you see that part easier, but it moves faster too, because they don't need to play the run game. They're just flying to the spots, and that's the truth in my opinion.
So Trae, as you're looking at, obviously you had the 7-on-7 with Battle at the Boneyard over the course of the weekend. I know you've been here a ton, but I know for a lot of the other guys that were here, it was their first time. Think back to your first time when you got on campus. It seems like a lot of people are kind of surprised at what Nebraska has to offer. What surprised you the first time you stepped on campus about what Nebraska actually had here?
A fan base.
What about a lot of stuff we hear about is fan base, facilities, just the cities around the university. How did that kind of impress you as you started to get more familiar with the area?
I mean, very impressive. I kind of know Lincoln like the back of my hand now. I went around it a lot this week, so it impressed me. But we're not going to school for a city. We're going to school for football and making sure that the city is represented well.
Trae, it's interesting as you're kind of watching this process, and just you have a couple of more years to go. How do you stay dialed in, kind of on the day-to-day, knowing that the future is what it is right now?
Like I said, when you love what you're doing, you live not day by day, but by workout, and really just here I'm worried about my workout right now, not my workout later with my team. So
I mean, what are we talking about? Trae, how old are you again?
16.
When's your birthday?
September 2nd.
How long you been driving?
About to be a year and 2 months.
Oh,
3 months.
just giving some perspective out there for those that are listening. Okay, so let's talk about kind of the process. I don't have the courage to ask my own kid. He had a recruit in town Saturday night with CJ, and our relationship, I try not to. It's father-son, so I don't want to say, well, gosh, why do they want you as a host, right? You just hope that it goes well. What have you been telling other guys about Nebraska that you think is kind of the mainstay of why people should be there, as somebody that's been a pretty good ambassador so far for the university in terms of your recruiting efforts? What is it that you gravitate towards, that you tell people that you think is why they should be in Lincoln?
That Coach Rule is going to be the realest coach that you're going to get. I mean, he's going to tell it to you straight to your face whether you like it or not. So,
what does real mean, Trae? What does real mean? Is it sometimes he hurts your feelings and it's like he has my best interests at heart? Like, what does real mean for you?
I have a great example, actually.
Let's go.
Sunday at camp, obviously I had thrown a lot. I thrown quite a bit in at the 7-on-7, and it was more so from the coaching staff. They were more so a little freaked out. I might have been throwing a little too much, especially because they didn't know how much I was throwing at home. So Coach Rule came and, hey, I'm your coach now, right? I'm going to pull you. You're done. More so just walk around, recruit, and, there's no need for you to throw anymore. I think that's the real part. Obviously, I didn't want to hear that because that's work I'm losing, but that's what I needed, and that's the best interest at heart for me.
Yeah, we hear that from a lot of guys that are on campus now, right after they've gotten to know Coach Rule, is, sometimes he'll tell you something you don't want to hear, but part of it, the reason that they listen is because they understand early that he's got their best interest at heart. When did you realize that Coach Rule had your best interest at heart?
I'm gonna say my last visit before committing there is when I really realized it. I'd heard about it and everything, but it was different. With him, it was, yes, we want you here. Yes, we really want you here. But if this isn't the best fit for you, then it's going to end up being a bad situation where you're going to be here and then you're going to be in the portal. Or this is going to hurt the team more than it's going to benefit you. So, if Nebraska wasn't the best fit for me, then it shouldn't have came or committed. And for other schools, it was what's the best fit for the university. And he made a good point. You got to care more about the name on the back of your jersey than the name on the front of your jersey.
Trae, easy person to cheer for. I'm glad our fan base is getting a chance with kind of you doing this car wash a little bit of doing a few interviews with some of the local folks, man. You get better each time, and proud of your accomplishments up to this point. We'll be cheering like crazy for you in the upcoming season. And it's hard to believe we got to wait 2 more of them till we get you, but huge fans of the work, man, and Nebraska knows they got a good one.
Thank you very much. Go Big Red.
Appreciate you, Trae. That's Trae Taylor, Nebraska 2027 quarterback commit. Got to get back to his workout.
Hey, did you catch the last part?
Yeah.
We literally just talked about you got to be for the university as much as the university is for you, and how other schools have been recruiting them just the other way.
Backwards.
I'm not dumb.
It's how everybody recruits, I think, for the most part. I think that's how most people recruit. What can you do for university? What can the university do for you?
If they win,
it's going to be a monster. And you're not going to – here's the thing. You're not going to get everybody because that's not for everybody.
No, I understand that.
But the ones you get, watch out. Watch out. Because it's not for everybody.
Shout out to those in the back.
The people gave it a hard time when that was the state slogan. Nebraska, it's not for everybody. It's really not.
It's not.
But for the people it's for, you love it here. Seems like Trae Taylor's one of those people. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live coming up next.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Hurrdat Sports is pleased to bring you the NEB Prep 77th State Championship this year, hosted by Bellevue West, June 16th and 17th of 2025. June 16th, the first day, will be pool play. 18 teams from across the state battling it out for this trophy. On June 17th will be the championship game at 3 p.m. Bracket play will begin at 10 a.m. on June 17th. We'll see you there.
Well, it kind of feels like I'm just back on the horse again. As you know, I think it's 15 years that I've been a head coach consecutively before this last year. So it's just a matter of getting reacclimated with being the one to make the final decisions instead of suggestions. I've always said that's the biggest difference between being an assistant and being the head coach is you make decisions, not suggestions. So anxious and happy to be back in that role. Having Mike Current and Billy Mole with me for the last year has been such a godsend. And then as we move forward together and add a couple additional personnel, just really excited about where we're going.
Give me that cheddar, weekend Rico. Big Boneyard rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, reminding you getting an auto loan doesn't have to be stressful. At Centris Federal Credit Union, their team has consistently been voted best of Omaha for auto financing, and they're here to help you get into a new ride. They'll help you navigate the whole process and find the right auto loan with competitive rates and pre-approvals. Whether it's for your daily driver or a weekend getaway, Centris is where you are with auto loans. Get started at centrisfcu.org today, federally insured by NCUA. Incredible stuff there from Trae. That's the first time I've had the chance to talk to him. I know you've interacted with him a little bit more, being down there a little bit. But you know what's funny? So
I was like a closet stalker, though. I don't even. That's the first
you
time
were like watching.
That's the first time I let him put two and two together.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know what's funny is Rico and Austin were pumping out clips while we were doing that. And one of them that they put out was you can't expect to be a leader and not have everybody watching you clip, which I think stopped us both in our tracks a little bit. And then it clicked in the break. That's one of the things that bothers me so much about like a Kevin Durant.
Oh, that doesn't want what comes with.
Kevin Durant wants to ball.
Yeah.
He wants all the things that comes with balling and being one of the best players in the world. He doesn't want you to say a damn thing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is part of the package, buddy. It's the thing that bothers me about a lot of coaches, whether it's in press conferences or whatever. It's like when the reporter asks the question, it's like, this is part of the job, man. Like, don't get all angry and pissy and whatever. Like, this is part of what you get. You get to do a really cool job. It's a hard job. Don't get me wrong. Quarterback at the University of Nebraska is a hard job. But there's a lot of cool stuff that comes with it.
Yeah.
Now, some of the stuff that comes with it, not as cool, but it is part of the package.
I know. Hey,
you know what I mean? That's why I appreciate Coach Rule so much, because that dude, for all the stuff he has to deal with, which is a lot, still loves Nebraska.
So, you know what's interesting is, somebody that's gone through a ton of emotional highs and lows, but people have only outwardly seen a few.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One of the things that I can appreciate is even like when I melted down whenever I was away from sports talk.
Yeah.
You try to explain to people that you're talking to as you're processing through what happened and what's going on. You never know what the threshold is.
Mm-hmm. Like, where's the breaking point?
Like, because, if I, to the layperson, that wasn't even as bad as it's gotten before, or
Mm-hmm.
it's been worse in this situation. And you try to explain to people that you're talking to. It's like, if I could peg it and bottle it,
mm-hmm.
I would.
Yeah, then you wouldn't have this issue.
Yeah, people would be talking to me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean. And so when I listen to him talk about being his own benchmark,
mm-hmm.
Understanding full well that the eyes are on him, that they're critiquing every response or every performance. I love the fact that he talked about even during the football struggles,
mm-hmm.
how to recalibrate. The further you get ahead with self-awareness and to process, it's so much bigger than just athletics.
Mm-hmm.
This
Absolutely.
is. Athletics is like the fun byproduct.
Yeah.
Life is the tough thing.
Yeah,
and you heard it, and he said, he goes, man, this isn't that tough. This is just another day.
It's just football.
And I always talk about competitive
stamina. Can you endure the rigor?
Can you do the same thing over and over again every day at your own level?
Mm-hmm.
Not, well, he said this to me, or he did this, or she didn't catch that pass, or the teacher feels this way about
or what about even this? Well, I didn't even really want to come to Nebraska. I didn't even really want to be here.
Okay. You're not going to let that go.
No, because it's bullshit. It is. Nobody held a gun to your head. And we don't have to do this whole thing again, but that's what I mean. And that's what I identified like in year 2, isn't it? Because I sat right next to you with headsets like this on and said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Nobody held a gun to your head, man. You chose to be here. If you choose to be here, then be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, what's funny is
Trae's 16.
You're my Michigan Lance. I had an article after the very tumultuous stint at Northwest. And even when Dirk did the first article, when I took the job, Lance called me, and he's pretty pissed.
At Dirk?
At me.
Okay.
And he said, you make it sound as though, and he can tell you the story.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you make it sound as though you didn't want the job.
Mm.
And I told him, not only was I not ready, but I felt compelled to take it.
Sure. Feels like an obligation.
And he said, you have no idea what people like me and positions that you're in, like what that does. You have to know your audience.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that he's saying.
Yeah.
And we're boys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want what comes with it. And he said, you better learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was very candid post about what was going on and some of the struggles, then there were some other people that didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself, you know, because again, how about the magical years? 2009-ish, 10, 11 to 12.
Some other stuff going on in your life then?
A little
bit.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you, I say that to say, when you double down on the hardline stance and I don't push back, not only do I understand.
Yeah, you've been there.
I understand it. I understand your stance. You are Michigan Lance. You are 100% Michigan Lance. Me, I'm both. I understand exactly.
Yep.
I understand exactly.
But you've been on the other side of it too.
Which is why I lobbied, not lobbied, but said the things that I said before he took the job. And I was branded as a guy that was either jealous or
hater,
didn't want him.
Yeah.
I'm saying, hey, he comes with certain foibles that may not be conducive, especially when you're just starting a what?
Starting new jobs.
A family.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A family.
Yeah, sure.
I'm speaking about all the things that I know about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But it's not like at that point I'm so insecure and I'm uncomfortable. I'm not spilling my guts about
your own stuff,
my own life.
Yeah.
But I clearly understand, which is just more practice to be able to eat the meat and spit out the bones, right? Like I can take the gist of what he's saying. I can take the gist of what you're saying. I can take the gist of what.
Can I tell you what really bothers me? Is it felt like, and maybe this isn't, this is to anybody. It felt like, and this is even go to the Kevin Durant thing I was just talking about, right? It felt like he wanted us to accept what came with him and didn't want to extend the same courtesy, right? Like it seemed like
that's a heck of a point.
Like it's either one way.
You can't have you, and I say this to people all the time. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't want to dictate
be like,
the
this is how I
outcomes
am.
as the head honcho.
Yeah,
and then
like Adrian Ferrari is a great example of this, right? If he wants us to accept who he is as a person and doing the splits and some of that other stuff, some of the antics and the big personality or whatever, then he needs to accept what comes along with wrestling or being an athlete at a place like the University of Nebraska, right?
That makes sense.
You don't get one and not the other. Like you don't get to dictate all the terms here. Like this is a social contract. The terms need to go both ways.
It's funny because as you kind of process through this, it's always your biggest critique of the coaches. It doesn't matter what the sport is.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a really cool job, as hard as it is. If you want us to accept
and you know what I used to say when you would hardline it like that?
What's that?
Is you're not capable of grace.
Well, that's not true.
I know. I'm getting it.
I'm capable of a lot of grace, but got to extend both ways.
Yeah.
I'm like that with people, too. I'm capable of a lot of grace. Got to extend both ways. Otherwise, I'm out.
Clearly.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Hurrdat Sports is pleased to bring you the NEB Prep 77th State Championship this year, hosted by Bellevue West, June 16th and 17th of 2025. June 16th, the first day, will be pool play. 18 teams from across the state battling it out for this trophy. On June 17th will be the championship game at 3 p.m. Bracket play will begin at 10 a.m. on June 17th. We'll see you there.
it kind of feels like I'm just back on the horse again. As you know, I think it's 15 years that I've been a head coach consecutively before this last year. So it's just a matter of getting reacclimated with being the one to make the final decisions instead of suggestions. I've always said that's the biggest difference between being an assistant and being the head coach is you make decisions, not suggestions. So anxious and happy to be back in that role. Having Mike Current and Billy Mull with me for the last year has been such a godsend. And then as we move forward together and add a couple additional personnel, just really excited about where we're going.
Give me that cheddar, weekend Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live, covering Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Here is Mike J. Schaefer.
Yeah, that's a grown-ass man right there.
Mike Schaefer.
I don't know. There could be bacon involved.
Mike Schaefer.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank Brian Edwards for me.
Here is Mike Schaefer.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Centrist Federal Credit Union. No, DB did not get a little lighter skinned. That's Austin Jacobsen. DB's heading down to Lincoln's, got a little work to do. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by our guy Mike Schaefer from Husker247. What's up, Schaefer?
Not a ton. How are we doing today?
Good. We're doing all right,
Yep,
man.
can't
How
complain.
was the? Did you get to spend a little time in Lincoln this weekend?
I was not at the Friday deal. I had other obligations going on that were scheduled before I knew that this event happened. But I am aware of how things went from talking to different colleagues. It sounded like a good visit weekend overall in a variety of respects for Nebraska.
So the obviously the headliner Ahmad Hudson really got people's attention, got people excited about his capabilities. I know that your Rolodex goes a ways back. How much of this do you kind of look at and you go, okay, how do we have like a Micah Parsons situation here where this is a nice performance, nice to hear people say nice things about Nebraska, but I don't know how much actual value there is there, or how do you process that as you're kind of consuming all the information we got over the weekend?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think people forget, like, Nebraska was legitimately in the mix with Micah Parsons. Like, he had a big Friday Night Lights, but then he also came out for an official visit. It just so happened his official visit came during that Nebraska-Ohio State game where most of the fan base left by halftime. And so, I got a wonderful photo of him just sitting on the sidelines eating popcorn with just kind of a wry smile on his face. So, Nebraska even had a crystal ball prediction from Steve Wiltfong at one point in time for Micah Parsons in September of that year. So there was something there, and there's definitely something here with Ahmad Hudson as well. And the thing with Hudson is there was something to it before this Friday even happened. He had come out to Nebraska before. He had a good relationship with the staff. He's been here with the basketball program. He's obviously at 6'8", 200 and nearly 40 pounds. I mean, he's a power forward. And a tight end, and I think he wants to try to do both. Nebraska has offered in basketball. He met with Hoiberg over the weekend. So there's a relationship there. Throw in the Trae Taylor factor that he got to catch passes from the future quarterback at Nebraska. That can't hurt things. And then I think there's another family connection to Nebraska. I can't remember exactly what it is, but there's something else that makes Nebraska a bit of a draw as well. And so this is going to be a real target for the 2027 cycle. Obviously, very early in the whole process, but wouldn't be surprised to see him as a visitor for a game this fall, and to continue to hear his name pop up over and over and over throughout the process. But of course, 2027 recruit, we're talking about December of 2026. We don't even know how Nebraska is going to play in 2025. There's so many factors that line up in all of this, but Nebraska's done a ton of great work on the front end. Now, if they could just win some of those pesky football games that happen between August and the end of November, that might help them out a little bit too.
Well, I mean, you have to throw those details in there about like actually winning football games. But so I want to just real quick on the Ahmad Hudson thing. I'm sort of fascinated by this basketball football dynamic because, and you would have a better sense of this since you get eyes on more recruits and nationally than I do. How, like, that seems really, really uncommon to pull off. It doesn't feel like a thing that we've seen, especially recently. There's obviously some very high profile examples of it, whether it's like a Donovan McNabb or a Julius Peppers or a Ronald Curry, whoever, right? But those are all 20 years ago, right? It seems super unusual. As you're watching through these guys, obviously the opportunity to do it is pretty rare in the first place. But of the guys that even have the opportunity, is it as rare as it seems to me to actually try and pull that off? Like they usually end up picking one, right?
Yeah, I think some of it is that sports now are so individualized relative or specialized relative to where it was, back in that time, the names that we remember doing it, and even locally. I mean, Wilson Thomas and Matt Davidson did football and basketball. And so, it isn't unheard of, but it's also been a while since anyone's really done it or done it at a high level. And I think a lot of that has to do with how the season is structured. I mean, if you're at Nebraska playing football, you're basically busy in the best sense from August until January. And then you get your break. Nebraska makes it into the college football playoff and makes it a round or two. You go into January, or if they're playing in the Belk Bowl or whatever, and they're, playing on January 5th. So you'd have that. And then on top of it, the off season basically is 3 weeks for football now. And you're right back into off season workouts and mat drills and all of those things. And so I have my doubt that people will be able to pull it off. We've seen really qualified athletes and guys talk about it, but like Jalen Suggs, he ended up going to Gonzaga. I don't believe they even have a football team, but he's someone else that comes to mind. Usually they're so good at one sport that it becomes obvious which one that you're going to specialize in. With Hudson, it's football is where he's going to be recruited the highest. The question I have is, does he like basketball more than football? Because the answer there is yes. That I think almost changes the equation a little bit, but we'll see how that all plays out. I have my doubt that he would be a contributor in basketball if he's playing at a football school. It's just hard to get away from it. It's such a year-round thing.
If he does like basketball more, does that actually help Nebraska? Because you have to imagine a really high-profile basketball program probably isn't going to be as cool with him trying to double dip and not being able to contribute until January or whenever. Like, if Nebraska is willing to let him do both, does that actually help them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Nebraska is one of the places that, because it's basketball, isn't going to recruit at such a high level that it can sort of do this. And, the way these things tend to work is he would count towards a football scholarship. So it would be like getting an extra player in basketball in January. And if we could even just provide a little bit of bench depth at the end of Big Ten regular season, that's not nothing at 6'8", 240 pounds, and just a good athlete that gives you 5 fouls and maybe a couple minutes. It depends on if that's what he wants. Mm-hmm. And if Matt Rule is willing to allow that to happen for someone who has the potential to be an incredible tight end for you. I mean, there's so many different layers to all of it. And of course, the biggest thing is don't really have to worry about a ton of it until he chooses Nebraska in the first place. But I think you're absolutely correct that this is one of the few places where doing both is like a real option.
Schaefer, when it came to all the things that went on with the 7-on-7, Ravi and Damon talked about it yesterday. I've seen a lot of people online saying, it wasn't based on commitments. It wasn't based on, trying to make sure that you got guys to say, hey, I want to be a Husker when they left over the weekend. Did you see this maybe more as like a long-term relationship type of thing, like a distance relationship where you're just putting out feelers, you're just letting people kind of see your house, letting them walk around, and even if it's not a commitment, I kind of thought it was interesting that this is an opportunity for all of these kids, all this high talent, to be able to see Memorial Stadium, to be able to see the facilities. And in this new era of the transfer portal and everything else, it's a chance to say, hey, I've been to Nebraska. I actually know what it looks like and could consider it down the road, maybe even 2 stops later.
Yeah, that's 100% what I think it was. I don't think they were looking to get immediate commitments out of 27s and 28s and 29s. Those are the guys that you're just trying to start that initial relationship. You're trying to give them a reason to want to come back to Nebraska, that they want to see what that stadium looks like when Nebraska plays Michigan in September, that they want to be here when it's a 2:30 kick against USC and you see what it's a little bit darker in the day and you get the fourth quarter hype thing going, and Nebraska's right in that game. I mean, you want to build reason for them to come back and see the atmosphere. On top of it, you want to combat perception. I mean, we all know what the perception of Nebraska football is, and unfortunately, most of us know what the reality of Nebraska football in the last 8 years has been. But you want to give people a reason to view you favorably. And a lot of these guys go to a lot of camps, and they talk to a lot of other recruits. And someone might be like, hey, Nebraska's talking to me. What do you think about it? And they're like, oh, the facilities are incredible. The food are incredible. The people are incredible. It's worth a visit. And then you're going to get piggybacking off of word of mouth. Like it felt in a lot of ways like it's just a big parade of home style open house. Like we're throwing open Memorial Stadium. We're having these guys come through and see it. They're going to go back and talk to people. They're going to go back and think about, hey, that was pretty cool. And you mentioned the other big thing in the transfer portal era, just having a connection to a place that if they go, like let's say Juju Johnson, who is a potential 5-star defensive back from Long Beach Poly. Let's say he goes to USC or whatever, and it doesn't work out there, and he goes in the portal and Nebraska makes an offer. He's already got a frame of reference for what is at Nebraska. He doesn't have to think about like, okay, I have no idea. I haven't been there. I haven't seen it. Like, I think that stuff matters. And it wasn't about immediately getting a couple commitments that wouldn't be able to sign for, multiple years. It was about opening up the sort of door and just saying, hey, come check this out. See what we have here. And then go spread the news.
Kind of in that same sense too, Schaefer, did this, you kind of joked about it at the beginning, obviously Nebraska needs to win the football games to be able to get some of these high-level recruits and keep their interest up. But in some sense, didn't everything that kind of happened with the battle in the Boneyard and all that sort of stuff, that's kind of, if that's the first impression people, or I should say recruits have of Nebraska football, that's much better than Raw Miami going and never traveling to Lincoln and never seeing the facilities and never coming out. And they're stuck in Florida, and the only thing that they see of Nebraska is, a bad loss or another close loss or the graphics or whatever the case is. It kind of trumps that first perception, if nothing else. And maybe it keeps your foot in the door, even if there's some struggles during the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing here is it's almost impossible for Nebraska to get a kid out of Florida if they don't visit multiple times. I mean, It's just it's one of these things where it's your introductory visit for a lot of these different recruits. And so the hope is that they're going to be back 2, 3, 4 times because they're going to be interested in what they saw on this last visit, and they're going to have a frame of reference to work with. And so it all just kind of builds upon that idea that you're not going to get commitments if you don't get someone here. The biggest seller for Nebraska football, because they're not winning games, is the atmosphere and the environment and what's set up here, the facilities, the fact that a lot of guys tell me what they like about Nebraska is that you go to one building and everything you need is in that building, other than when you're going to class. If you're hungry, the training table is right there. If you need somewhere to go relax and hang out, the players' lounge is right there. Study hall is right there. the weight and nutrition and strength and conditioning and all of that is all right there. It's a one-stop shop, and I think it's designed in such a way that it's an enjoyable place for them to be. And I don't think it's a big secret Nebraska wants their players largely living there throughout the day so that they're all around each other and that they're focused on football and all of that. I mean, that shouldn't come as a surprise that was a central goal. And so for recruits to walk away and be talking about that, I think they've really sort of set out and accomplished what they're trying to do.
We're talking with Mike Schaefer, Husker247. Schaefer, all right, I am as big of an advocate as putting commercials out for the program as anybody, but there were a bunch of recruits here, and I do think some people expect some of those recruits to eventually become commitments. Have you kind of heard any positive reviews that think, hey, there might be some guys here that Nebraska has a pretty decent chance of landing, whether in this cycle or in the next one?
Are we talking the 7-on-7 or the official visit week? Because that's the thing. They had like so many events going on this weekend. You know, there was a lot of important people that rolled through. Some of them for just 5 hours, some of them for multiple days. I guess rein me in as to what you want here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess anybody that has been kind of come across your radar that was here this week, that is, I mean, I know like Hayden Ainsworth is a name that people are throwing out there. Just anybody that was here this week and that you think Nebraska's got a real shot at landing.
Right. We'll go with some of the OVs. I mean, I heard multiple times throughout the spring that Nebraska was in a really good spot with Luke Sorensen, and then there's a little bit of USC buzz, and then there was Penn State buzz, and then he got here this weekend, and Nebraska did a really good job, and that's tight end out of Servite, which basically Servite High School, which is in Anaheim, California. He came out for his official visit. He's still got one lined up with Penn State, but I think Nebraska's way out in front here. He's set for a June 20th commitment date. And so I like the Huskers' chances with that tight end, which is big because they didn't want to go empty out of a nice tight end class. And it felt, we just saw Isaac Jensen from Millard South committed to Missouri yesterday, I believe. And so if Nebraska can get Luke Sorensen, they're going to feel pretty good because they would have got one of the guys they identified as one of their 4 favorites early in this cycle. And so I think that's important. A couple offensive linemen walking away this weekend where Nebraska can feel good about. You mentioned Hayden Ainsworth. He canceled a visit to Florida State that was supposed to happen on Monday. I think that's a really good sign for Nebraska. If he's canceling that Florida State visit, and he's canceling it, not Florida State, it tells you he feels good about what he saw here. I think there's other sources I've talked to in the 24/7 Sports Network that believe that Nebraska has been out in front on this one, and it was going to be, if the visit went well, he was going to shut things down. So we'd keep an eye on that one. The other offensive lineman, Rex Waterman out of Arizona, it doesn't sound like he's going to visit Duke anymore. That was his next visit. It's a Nebraska-UCLA battle. He's been to Nebraska 3 times. They've been recruiting him pretty hard. Every time I've talked to Rex, he seems like he really likes Donovan Raiola and Matt Rule and sort of what Nebraska football is. So he was someone coming into the weekend I felt like they had a great chance with. And then a guy to put on flip alert out of the weekend is Cameron Wilson, Syracuse commit, came up from Florida. This is someone, it's kind of been funny to me, committed to Syracuse, kept his Nebraska visit. And then every time he's been asked about Nebraska since coming out in the spring, he just raves about how they're the best facilities he's seen. It was the best visit he took, the best staff that he was around. And every time you put these quotes down, you're writing Syracuse commit, Cameron Wilson, and then it's just all this glowing stuff about Nebraska. So the big one there is that Florida State, full of ex-Nebraska defensive coaches, which all went and visited him, which made for a pretty hilarious photo of Evan Cooper, John Papuchis, Terrence Knighton, Tony White standing around with a target that Nebraska's going after really hard. But he's got a visit there. They want him. Obviously, that's an in-state situation. But I think Phil Simpson and Terry Braden have done a really nice job with Cameron Wilson. And so that's a defensive lineman out of Miami. And then we talked about Ahmad Hudson. We talked about the basketball and football thing. Again, I mentioned it, and it sounds really good for Nebraska right now. And it sounded that way before Friday even took off, where he dominated and got to play with Trae Taylor and everything else. So that's someone, long-term, I think Nebraska really helped themselves with. They had some guys that I think I might botch the last name. I think it's Albert Simeon came up and practice and was a 4-star offensive lineman, I want to say from Utah, maybe. Utah or New Mexico, and he came out and had a really great time. And Mark Meadows, another top offensive lineman out of Florida, had a great time. I think a lot of the sort of guys that participated in the 7-on-7, the 28s and 29s had a blast. It's just too early to really dial in on those guys specifically. But of the official visitors, it sure feels like Nebraska could walk out with 4 or more from this visit weekend. It's going to be harder to get the Brian Bonners and the Kelvin Obits. But at least where things sort of stand, it feels like the momentum is kind of shifted and a thawing a little bit in this 2026 class.
Schaefer, I don't know if maybe it's just me hearing Ravi and Damon talk about it before, what you're saying right now, and just kind of recounting the names and all of the official visits and the people that were there over the past weekend in Lincoln. But has it been almost like a quiet transition for Rule and the staff? It was so vocal and loud about how the change and what they were going to do when the 105-man roster came out and how the differences in the portal and the people leaving and all that stuff. But it almost feels as if Nebraska's not afraid to try to go after these top targets anymore and to invite them in and to be able to almost be vulnerable in that sense of like, hey, if we want as many top targets to consider coming to Nebraska, we want them to come in and visit. I just maybe I just haven't been on the recruiting sense that much, but it feels like this is such a change from when Rule was hired year one and we saw kind of the different, the hidden gems and the diamonds in the rough that were more heir apparent than what we've seen kind of in the recent few weeks.
Well, I think some of that is that they were so far behind the 8 ball in terms of recruiting and relationships. Here, they've been able to establish themselves and have had an opportunity to build a relationship with an Ahmad Hudson or a Mark Meadows or some of these other top 247 guys. And so I think some of it is a shift in that regard. I think some of it is it feels different because 2026 has been so quiet and it looks like it's going to be a relatively small class. I think one of the things that fascinates me about where Nebraska sits right now, to have a relatively young roster where they have a lot of guys they want to learn about in this 2025 season. And so they don't want to take too many high school players because they want to be relatively flexible if they have to go into the portal and take a bunch. And if they have a bunch of guys that aren't going to leave because things are good, then you don't want to get in a spot where you're having to cut people or take things away. And so I think they're just being really judicious about what they take in 2026, trying not to reach too much, but having a good base of high school player. And they're shooting for the moon in the 2027, 2028 classes. And right now they have one commit in 27. And it's a quarterback who had a big day in front of, national evaluators and a ton of other peer recruits last Friday in Trae Taylor. So I think some of it is you work with the hand that you're dealt. And so it might be a little quiet here for 26, but it doesn't mean Nebraska isn't willing to get in and try to swing some elbows. I think it's a bit of a bet on where they think they can be at the end of the 2025 season. I mean, if you put yourselves in this position and you go win a bunch of football games, your stock in the recruiting world is just soaring at that point in time. But we've been here before. I mean, Nebraska does a nice job building buzz for itself. It does a much worse job continuing that when the games start.
So, Schaefer, when you say, if they go out and win a bunch of games, like, is there a number in your head where that starts to shift? I mean, obviously they go out and win like 10. You're like, oh, this is great.
Sure.
Does 8 get the job done? Obviously, I would guess nothing less than 8 would. But like, have you allowed yourself to think about that part of it?
I have.
Though, does it matter which games that they win?
Yes.
8 games differently are, obviously, like if they win a bigger marquee game, does that matter more than maybe the amount of wins?
I think it would. I think it's how they get to 8. I think it's important for them to sort of finish the season, or at least maybe the regular season, with a number in front of their name, get back into the top 25. Like, put yourself in the national conversation. This isn't they need to be in the college football playoff conversation, but, when you're playing Michigan in September, you need to be undefeated and potentially be like the number 24 or 25 team in the country at that point in time, or you're on the fringe of it. Like, this can't just be Nebraska loses to Cincinnati, finds a couple wins, loses again to Michigan, gets a win over Michigan State, gets a win over Northwestern. Like they have to, some of these wins have to matter. They have to play and maximize marquee opportunities. And if you finish the year at 8-4, but you're 8-4 and you had some hard fought losses in there, you are a fringe top 25 team, that sort of thing. I think that could be really helpful. I think 9-3 is sort of the eye in the, if they can get to 9-3, I think they're going to have a really nice jumping off point for where they want to go. I think 8-4, we'll see what that sort of looks like. 7-5 is a continuation of a lot of things. And I don't know that you're going to get a big bump just because of that. But I think if you can stack 8-9 wins and you're part of the national conversation for once, instead of always being referred to as a sleeping giant, at some point you're just still asleep. Or, we got to get medication or something to wake it up. But nobody wants to hear about him being a sleeping giant anymore. They need to actually start winning football games. And they know that more than anybody over there. And that's why a lot of the decisions have led to what it has.
That's our guy, Mike Schaefer, Husker247. Schaefer, appreciate the time as always. We will talk to you again soon.
All right, guys, have a good one. Enjoy your Tuesday.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to LSU baseball coach Jay Johnson. The Tigers are coming back to Omaha. Might as well call it their second home at this point. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Live. I'm Ravi Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. Gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free. It runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at Westroads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to Westroads.
$2.50 round trip. Can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
Give me that cheddar, bacon, Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Yeah, it's fun. I grew up playing against Jason and Isaac a lot, so it's fun just being on their team now. They're great players, and playing with everyone is going to be fun.
What's been your early impression of the group so far?
It's a lot of fun. Everyone's pretty outgoing. A lot of jokes being made and stuff, but when it's time, we're pretty serious, and everyone's good. I feel like we have a really good roster and a lot of guys that will be able to play.
A successful financial future is built one coin at a time. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned saver, we've got the financial resources and team of experts who will be with you every step of the way. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
And here come the Tiger fans to their feet at Alec Box Stadium.
Tell the folks at Barrett's to get some things on ice up there in Nebraska, folks.
West stands in, righty on lefty matchup. Nobody on, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, 12-5, Tigers lead, the 0-2.
Swing and a miss. Struck him out. Tigers win. Tigers win. Head north, young man. You're going to Omaha.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're efforting LSU head coach Jay Johnson. In the meantime, though, as they make their way up to Omaha, don't forget you can make your way down to the baseball championships as well using Metro Transit, whether it's the Orbit bus, park out at Westroads, get a ride downtown to the ballpark, and don't even worry about parking down there, or you can take the ballpark bus, park a little further away, get a free ride down to the stadium as well. Go to ometro.com to plan your ride and figure out the best way to get to the ballpark. You can guarantee I will, because that's about the only thing I don't like about this time of year is navigating the parking situation downtown. So I'm glad that Metro Transit has my back. As we work on getting Coach Jay Johnson here, Austin.
My first College World Series.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I was wondering what your experience with the College World Series is, because obviously you're from Western Nebraska.
Yep.
It is
quite a drive.
I mean, it's 7 hours, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not like you're in Grand Island. You're like, oh, it's a couple hours, not a big deal.
Yeah,
right? Like, you're basically in Denver at this point. You're closer to Colorado, Wyoming than you are Omaha. Like, have you made the trip before? Have you been here? I know it's your first one working.
Yeah, right. I'd been to one game, and my friend's car got stolen, so we couldn't make it back.
So really good experience.
It was a pretty quick experience too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully that not happening under the watchful eye of Hurrdat Sports.
Yes, we hope so. You can obviously come down. We'll have our Hurrdat Sports little setup like we did last year. But the setup that I'm really interested in talking about is LSU head coach Jay Johnson. Coach, how are you this morning? Thanks for joining us.
Doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing really well. I imagine not as well as you are, as your Tigers making a return trip to Omaha. Obviously, that's sort of the standard down there in Baton Rouge. That's the expectation. But was there a point during the season? I know you guys got off to a hot start, played really well throughout the season. But was there a point throughout the season where you're like, man, I think this team's really got a chance?
Yeah, I think we had a great fall. Just very workmanlike, saw a lot of maturity out of the team. And it's an interesting team. We only have 12 players on this team that played in the game for us last year. And we did well with the guys that we brought in the transfer portal and really have an exceptional freshman class of players. It's only about 6 of them, but they're all very big contributors to what we're doing. So it was really just taking that talent and making it a team. And we identified the brand of baseball that we needed to play to be successful and have been able to do that. And as you said, and I appreciate you saying it, we've been a very consistent team throughout the year. We had one hiccup at Auburn where they got us pretty good, and they were obviously a really good team. But other than that, we've been very steady and excited to get out to Omaha and go for it again.
Coach, you've had some younger talent that's on this team, and kind of just reading the different press clippings and looking through your guys' past season, you'd even said, in the SEC, you're not going to really play that many young talent. What's the difference maker with this year's roster composition comparative to years past when you've made it to Omaha?
Well, I think the landscape of college baseball is changing, particularly in the SEC, where you cannot get to Omaha or compete at the top of our league without, future major league players, which we have a couple, especially on the mound, and old players that really know what they're doing, like program staple type players. Well, the one thing that we have is we have some freshmen that are, very mature for their age, wise beyond their years, that have been able to mentally and physically withstand the rigors of playing in our league and have excelled and are really taking a forefront role on our team. When you talk about Derek Curiel, Kason Evans, and then some guys right next to that, Cooper Williams, Maverick Rizzi, Kate Aaron Beatty, William Schmidt. So we're very fortunate with those 6 guys. Another one named John Pearson, that we actually have a pretty good foundation moving forward. And that's hard to do from within your program now with the way things have changed in college baseball.
Coach, you mentioned not a lot of guys from last year's team. Obviously, 2 years ago, even further removed from the national championship team that you had at LSU. How much does it help that you personally have been kind of through the Omaha College World Series experience, not just with LSU, but obviously at your previous stop as well? Like, how much can you impart to your team about the experience of being here and how different it is from really anything else they've experienced up to this point?
Yeah, I think it can really help. I really believe in 23. The previous 2 times going to Arizona really helped our team in 23. And it's as simple as, hey, what are we doing today here in Baton Rouge? How are we going to travel tomorrow? How does it look when we land? How do we handle Wednesday? How do you handle the practice day? We're not playing until the last game on Saturday. What does Friday look like to help your players, enjoy the experience of being in Omaha, but when that first pitch is thrown, be ready to go. And we're going to have to be, because we're playing, the most talented team in college baseball on Saturday night.
Coach, when you get to Omaha, you've obviously been comfortable here. You've been here many times. But is there something about like the routine of it? Like, do you have it down to a science now where there's this restaurant we're always going to, there's these things that we're always going to visit on our day off, we're heading out to the zoo and we're only going to the Desert Dome, or how does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, good question. So we started this tradition in 23, and we do it from Hoover, the SEC tournament on. You keep advancing and keep planning. We go to a big time steak dinner every week. And so Wednesday night we'll go have a steak dinner there. That's a staple. That's a promise I make to them at the beginning of the postseason. And other than that, though, like there's this really healthy balance, I think, that's important. It's so hard to get there that I want them to enjoy the fact that we made it to Omaha and we're in Omaha, and there's pockets of time to be able to do that while having the maturity and the self-discipline to stay in your routine, focus on the task at hand, and be prepared come game time. And, I've always believed that, not everybody goes to win it, if that makes sense. And it's not conscious or unconscious. It's just the way that it is. And, we want to be one of those teams that's given everything we have, because I don't take it for granted. It's hard to get there. And the longer you stay, the better the trip is. That's one thing I've learned. Obviously 23 was the pinnacle. 2016 was amazing, other than, missing one more base hit against Coastal Carolina. And 2021, we lost a heartbreaker to Kumar Rocker and Vanderbilt. That trip wasn't as fun because we didn't stay as long. So.
I tell people all the time, Coach, the more time you can spend in Omaha, the happier you'll be. I do think you brought up a really good point there about some people come to win the College World Series and some people are kind of just here. I was actually about to ask you that before you even brought it up, because obviously the standard at LSU was to try and win national championships. But do you have to battle at all against this idea that so much of your season is, whether it's for you or college baseball in general, is focused on just the idea of getting to Omaha? Do you find yourself having to fight that a little bit with any of your guys, or is it because, hey, we're at LSU, we understand the standard's a little different?
I think it's a little of both. I think I'm very well aware of where I'm at, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the players are as well. I think they deal with whatever you want to call it, both, praise and scrutiny more than any other team in college baseball. And that's because our fans are so passionate. The plus side of that is, I got 14,000 people here last Sunday night making it impossible for West Virginia to throw strikes, because they care. And you can't have it both ways. And when we show up on Saturday night, the ballpark will be purple. And that's pretty awesome. It'll probably be one of the largest crowds in College World Series history. And I just think you just kind of get used to it. And I think the key for us, and I really pride on having our team play our best when it matters the most, is what it takes to win in baseball does not change. Unfortunately, the people playing the game change mentally and sometimes get off track. We want to help our players, be as in tune with what makes them good as we possibly can be. And if they do that, then, we always like our chances.
Coach, what are your thoughts just as the bracket finalized last night? In what I see, it kind of looks like a lot of people, the teams that are included, might be pointing at the very first game with your Tigers being the two biggest targets in the entire tournament, with a lot of newcomers in the field and kind of how everything laid out.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Sunday, I was so locked in on our game. Like I had to turn the TV on in my office. Like, and I got, friends and colleagues I really respect on the doorstep of going to Omaha.
Yeah.
And like, you want to, I mean, there really wasn't anybody playing on Sunday and Monday that you don't have immense respect for. But like, you just want to be there so bad. It's like, hey man, I got to get this team ready to go. And we were dealing with a lightning delay, big surprise. You know what I mean? And trying to keep the team locked in and focused and all those things. But when I look at it, like, I mean, it's no secret. Like, Arkansas, like I said, is the most talented team in college baseball. I've felt that all year long, and it'll be awesome. I mean, I've kind of been in that spot before. The first time, we got to play the first night game against Miami. The second time we were facing Kumar Rocker and Vanderbilt. And, last time we were playing Tennessee. And so for me, it's like, it's just the way Omaha works out. You're not going to show up there and play a favorable matchup. I mean, that just doesn't seem to happen because, usually close to the 8 best teams are there. And, looking at the rest of them, like I said, I've been friends with Kevin Schnall at Coastal Carolina for a long time, kind of growing up as recruiters together. Obviously, I'm very happy for Chip Hale in Arizona. I mean, having come from there, and Chip was really great to me when I was the coach there. And I was really happy to see them win and go back. And Dan McDonald's been a great guy at Louisville, and Mitch Canham's done a great job at Oregon State. They have a terrific team. And, how can you not love the Murray State thing? Like, I mean, being starting my career as a mid-major guy and in Omaha feeling like the moon at times, to get there. And I mean, I've probably played John Savage more than any other coach that I've ever competed against, and my respect for him is immense. And Coach Van Horn is, a legend in our sport. So it'll be awesome to get there and compete with coaches and programs that are at the top of the top.
All right, Coach, we'll get you out of here on this. I have to take you back to 2023 for a second because, we've seen Paul Skeens do what he's done in the major leagues. Obviously, you've got a special talent on your hands when you've got him at LSU. But, like, was there any part of you that just thought, oh, yep, he's going to seamlessly go into the majors and dominate there just like he has in college? Like, it seems like there was zero learning curve with that guy. Like, obviously you saw Kumar Rocker, you brought that up in the College World Series, and you saw him when he was at Vanderbilt. Like, how much different is it? How much can you tell in real time when you've got one of those guys either with you or against you?
Yeah, here, I mean, he couldn't have put together a better season than he obviously did. In the context of baseball, is this meteoric rise like surprising? Absolutely. When you get to know Paul Skeens, it's actually not surprising. I mean, he's so solid in every possible way, and, super thankful for him. And you kind of knew you had something special. I always tell this story. Like, his recruitment lasted like the entire summer when he went to the portal because he was playing for Team USA, and he's very thoughtful and deliberate. And when he finally told me he was coming to LSU, like, I was out recruiting somewhere else, and my wife was with me, and like, she started like tearing up in like the hotel room when I'm like jumping on the bed. I'm like jumping on the bed, acting like a 12-year-old, like, because I was so excited. And you just knew it was going to be important. Well, then I coached him and got him here on a daily basis, and it's the most impressive human being I've ever met in my life. And so when you know Paul, it's actually really not that surprising when you put his talent and his character together.
Coach, we appreciate the time. As I don't know how much you know about your LSU history. The first College World Series game I ever went to, I was born and raised here, was Warren Morris walking it off for your Tigers back in '96. The ball landed about 8 feet away from me. So I enjoy and I appreciate always having LSU up here, and we look forward to having you up this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. I remember Chris Budden asked me a question when we won that crazy game against Wake Forest, who was the coolest person that I heard from that night. And my answer was Warren Morris.
There
No
you
doubt
go.
about it.
There you go.
So-
There you
Hey,
go.
Coach, are you going to beat the Jello shot challenge again? Do you think they're coming with it, or is it only one title at a time when you come to Omaha?
Yeah, I don't drink. I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life, actually. And like, I people were asking me about that when we got there in 23. It's like I didn't even know what a Jello shot was. So.
Well, Coach, I know you won't be.
But leave it to LSU fans to win that.
Okay.
That will be probably the biggest. The College World Series will be far more interesting than who wins that challenge. I can promise you that.
I was going to say, I know you won't be participating. I have a feeling a lot of your fans will be, though. Coach, appreciate your time. Good luck over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds great.
That's
Thanks, Coach.
Jay Johnson, head baseball coach for LSU,
Go
the
Tigers.
Adopted team of Omaha, Nebraska for the last almost 30 years. At this
You could
point.
feel the collective sigh of relief when that final
yeah.
strike was called. Like you could hear the Metro go, ah.
Yeah,
they were excited about that.
Omaha Chamber of Commerce was wearing their purple and gold throughout the Super Regionals, I'm sure. That's awesome. I'm Ravi. We'll be back to wrap up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
Aspirations can drive us. Sometimes a simple gesture is what fuels the pursuit of a dream. When it's time to make your dream a reality, we are here to help. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
Hurrdat Sports is pleased to bring you the NEB Prep 77th State Championship this year, hosted by Bellevue West, June 16th and 17th of 2025. June 16th, the first day, will be pool play. 18 teams from across the state battling it out for this trophy. On June 17th will be the championship game at 3 p.m. Bracket play will begin at 10 a.m. on June 17th. We'll see you there.
Well, it kind of feels like I'm just back on the horse again. As you know, I think it's 15 years that I've been a head coach consecutively before this last year. So it's just a matter of getting reacclimated with being the one to make the final decisions instead of suggestions. I've always said that's the biggest difference between being an assistant and being the head coach is you make decisions, not suggestions. So anxious and happy to be back in that role. Having Mike Current and Billy Moll with me for the last year has been such a godsend. And then as we move forward together and add a couple additional personnel, just really excited about where we're going.
I'm Ravi Lulla.
I'm Kenny Bell.
We're here from Hurrdat Sports. Don't worry, Metro Transit has you covered right here on the ballpark bus. Gonna run from right here down by the stadium, north of downtown, all the way up to Dodge Street, making a circle to drop you off wherever you need to go.
Oh, beautiful. So what's it cost?
It is free. It runs every 10 minutes, and it'll run almost all day until an hour after the last game. Or Kenny, if you're like me, you don't want to deal with driving downtown at all, Metro Transit has you covered there too. You can park out at Westroads for free and get a ride downtown through Orbit.
That's right. They added an extra Orbit stop at 10th and Capitol. Only $1.25. Fills up after the game. Quick, nice service right back out to Westroads.
$2.50 round trip, can't beat it.
And free parking? You kidding me?
Plan your trip or track your bus at myride.ometro.com.
Or download the MyRide OMA app.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
We're back here at Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, where you can check out our summer specials. You can also, as always, get that kids meal for free with the purchase of an adult entree because it's Tuesday. So if you're not like me, because dogs don't count, even though we do have the patio.
You saw my tweet yesterday about the neighborhood.
I do appreciate you.
Did you see the people reply? Is that Mike Sauter?
No.
Yelling about stepping on the lawn.
Oh.
I was like, come on, guys. We can't do this.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So if you're not like me in Austin where you just have fur babies, you have actual children, you can bring them on in here to Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill, grab an adult entree, and your kids will eat for free here on Tuesdays. So, Austin.
Yes.
We were, you were talking about how you kind of went down a little rabbit hole yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, this morning, and my mind's been primarily fixated on it. Yes, racing. I stayed up late.
We were talking about, obviously people know my affinity for Lane Kiffin, but we were talking about some of the coaching potential movement with Sam McEwen yesterday.
Which, by the way, the Lane Kiffin stuff I was also shocked by. Whoever put Heupel over Kiffin is completely incorrect.
Nuts.
So wrong.
So wrong. DeBoer also not currently over Kiffin in their current spot. And Brian Kelly's not even close.
No.
Not in the neighborhood.
No. And this is actually, so this is where my thought process started, was I heard Sam talking about, the next coach that could move from the college football ranks to the NFL would be Ryan Day. And I kind of thought about it because then you guys brought up Brian Kelly and all that other later, that if Brian Kelly got fired, who's hiring Brian Kelly? Like some smaller group of 5 school probably that needs him. But I bet
he would get a power conference job at a non-sexy location.
Right. But he's got a lot of other things he brings with him. There's a certain prestige that Brian Kelly, there's an air to him that he wants to bring along with him. And I don't know, if someone wants to ride with that, if they're even if Vanderbilt wanted to do that, I don't know that they would even be in for something like that.
You know who I thought of? They're not going to be in the market, I don't think, because I think Brahm's a good coach, but he feels like a Louisville guy.
Yeah.
That type,
that's right.
That level of school that wants to be bigger time, but it's kind of having a harder time breaking through.
Yeah.
Louisville-ish.
NC State-ish.
Somewhere in there. NC State's
basically the ACC.
What if it doesn't work out with Belichick?
True. That's
North Carolina's a really good
That's probably 100% where they would be.
They care about football, but they're not a power like that. They seem like a guy or a team that would take a chance on a guy like Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
But you kind of went down the rabbit hole of okay, so if Ryan Day goes from Ohio State to the NFL, mentioned Marcus Freeman. I don't think it's a lock that he would go.
Well, and I don't want to say that it would be a lock either, but that's where your mind goes first.
It does.
But it reminds me too of when Nick Saban retired suddenly to us, right? Everyone was like, well, that's Dan Lanning's job to say no to. And he did.
It probably was.
And he did say no, right?
Yeah. It probably was his job to say no to. I also think they offered it to Norvell before they offered it to DeBoer.
Oh, I wonder how he feels about that now.
I don't know that it would have gone better.
Yeah, they're probably him and DeBoer are probably on the same hot seat right now.
Yeah, honestly,
probably the same
I
temperature.
think there is an equal chance that either or both of them get fired this year.
And that's where my thought process started to go, because you and DB had mentioned a little bit about DeBoer, and if they get 8-9 wins, that seat is on fire.
He's got to make the college football playoff. He has to make the college.
I actually agree too. That okay, so in this scenario, let's say we're sitting here and it's February or late January 2026. Day has announced that he's moving on to the NFL because whatever team that's going to pick first fired, and they're going to hire him. You assume maybe Freeman's going to be in the running. Let's just say he does. So he moves to Ohio State.
He takes it.
So Ohio State is open. Notre Dame becomes a very interesting job.
It does.
And then you can even go down the line of, okay, if Florida State goes 6-6, that's not up to their standard. So they have a new spot open. Alabama goes 8-4, 8-5. They lose their bowl game. It's really sour. They lose the Iron Bowl. Maybe they're 8-3. They lose their last 2 games, something like that. They
could be total chaos.
That carousel would be nuts. And this is where my thought really started to get wild. And
I would bet, before you get I would bet either Auburn or Alabama is open this year. One of those two will be open.
I would 100% agree. Yeah, I agree. That Iron Bowl could be very interesting.
I know. It could be literally last man standing, whatever the wrestling thing is called, the steel cage match. Only one walks out alive. That could be the situation.
And it's not a non-zero chance. As we sit here right now, we can say this, but I don't think it's a non-zero chance that both those coaches wouldn't be back in 2026.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so in this scenario, the Notre Dame job is open. I don't doubt if Lincoln Riley has a decent year at USC that he might jump ship. He doesn't want to be in the Big Ten anyway. And Notre Dame's starting to break some of their traditional ties with some of their powerhouses.
He doesn't feel like a Notre Dame guy to me. Like, not even just.
But did he feel like an Oklahoma guy to you?
Only because he came up there.
Right.
Like, he came up there.
Yeah.
But, like, personality-wise, now, Brian Kelly doesn't either in a different way. He doesn't feel like a Notre Dame guy.
Not a whole lot of places that Brian Kelly really fits in, though.
Obviously, LSU is not one of them with the fake accent. I will say Marcus Freeman feels like what Notre Dame wants out of a football coach.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd try and replicate him more than they'd try and go, oh, this is the big sexy name.
Right.
Because Marcus Freeman wasn't the big sexy name.
That is true.
They wanted Luke Fickell. He asked them, hey, can I finish the playoff with Cincinnati? They said no. They hired Marcus Freeman and said, looks like a genius move at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Patience is a virtue, as they say.
Yeah, things not going well for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, which could also be open this year.
Yep.
Things going very well, obviously, for Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. So I don't know that Lincoln Riley is Notre Dame makes sense, but let's play this out, right? Let's say somebody else.
But see, this is where it gets fun. So just in this grand scheme, this is where I started to really get fruitful with it. So USC is now open.
Yeah.
Who's been constantly linked to USC over all these years?
James Franklin.
So now Penn State is open. So in one cycle, we had Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC, Penn State, Alabama, Florida State. And then, of course, from this local side, Penn State opens up. What's been the one fear? If Matt Rule has a decent year here, everyone would be clamoring to say, well, if that's open, because that cascade of carousel of coaches just continuing to move down would be jaw-dropping to see these high-level coaches that we take for granted at the location they are, like James Franklin at Penn State. I think a lot of people kind of write him off considering not the level of success that they want him to do in big games and such.
Yeah.
But USC would jump on the chance right now to be like, we would take James Franklin in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Can I say this, though? Matt Rule's not taking the Penn State job.
And I agree with that 100%.
I would, if Matt Rule takes the Penn State job at any point while he's the head coach of Nebraska, I will shave my beard. It's not happening.
Wow.
It's not happening.
It's not going to happen, but that is.
I will.
Wow.
At any point while he's the head coach of Nebraska. Now, if he leaves for another reason and goes to Penn State, we're not counting it. While at any point he's the head coach of Nebraska and he goes to Penn State, I will shave my beard.
Wow. Okay.
I'll do it live if you want me to.
That would actually, yes, that's exactly what I want to see.
It's not, I would guarantee it's not happening.
But, and so the reason for it is obviously one, the relationship that this show has with him and the way that you guys know him a little bit more and all that sort of stuff.
He be more than me, but tangentially.
But then also it is the public things that Rule does say now, because I mean, he's honestly said, without saying the direct words, I want to be at Nebraska for as long as they will have me.
Yeah.
Even though he has kind of said that,
he's basically
pointedly
said that. And I think he's, sometimes I don't remember what he said publicly and what he hasn't, but I do think there's a lesson to be learned from a lot of these. And this is why I'm a little more hesitant on the Marcus Freeman, Ohio State thing. Going back to your alma mater isn't always like sunshine and rainbows.
What do you mean? How do you know?
It's just a hunch. I don't have any direct real world experience about
Let's not.
this.
Do you want me to make a graphic? Really quick?
Yes, immediately. Get it up on the internet.
1 minute till end of show.
Obviously, there's a lot that comes with it, right? Whether you're Marcus Freeman, whether you're Scott Frost, whether you're Matt Rule, whoever it is, there's a lot that comes with going back to the place you're from. And some of these are already hard jobs. They're all hard jobs, right? But some are more difficult than others. I feel like you're inviting, especially if you're in a place where you're already successful. Like Marcus Freeman seemingly has sort of figured it out at Notre Dame. Now, if he could ever get a quarterback for more than 1 year at a time, that would be fantastic. Or if he could get a quarterback that from high school into, figure that part out, I'd feel a lot better. But he seems to have figured it out at Notre Dame. You really want to invite what Ohio State comes with it, because if Ohio State lost in the first round of the playoff last year, Ryan Day probably gets fired.
Yep.
Do you really want that? If you're if you're anybody in coaching, do you really want to say, hey, I made the college football playoff? It's but you lost to Michigan 4 years in a row. You're fired.
That's also one reason why Day's been successful, is because he's so level-headed, and
he seems unflappable.
He never seems like it doesn't matter if he wins or loses. He's going to have the same attitude no matter what. If his team is getting in a fight in midfield, or if he just won the national championship, he has the same facial expression.
Same face.
Yeah,
he looks like Louis Litt from Suits all the time,
and same beard. Little gray in that beard, though.
Little bit of gray.
I wonder if that was a Michigan loss that added that one.
Which one?
Good point. Good point.
That's Austin. I'm Ravi. Austin, thanks for filling in with me for the last hour here. Wish DB the best in Lincoln. That's Shane over there doing Shane stuff.
Thanks, Shane.
Appreciate all of our guests today as well. We'll be back tomorrow here on Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.